Hello, everybody, and welcome to Absolute Sim Racing for the third round of the SIM3D BSR MX5 trophy. I'm Edward May, and joining me in the commentary box for a wonderful evening's racing is the equally wonderful Dan Handover. And Dan, how are we doing today?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ed. I'm doing very well, thank you. Looking forward to another good evening's worth of racing. Sebring, we were driving this a little bit yesterday, weren't we? Great fun, some really exciting racing. The MX5 worked well around here, so I'm looking forward to getting stuck in.
Yeah, definitely, and it was able to give us an insight into just how competitive this grid is. Of course, there were times when we were going forward in the first quarter, so you can expect plenty of that and more this evening with the drivers just getting started in qualifying. The one to watch is, of course, Jason Cooper. In the race we did on the Monday, he was lightning fast. He was so consistent, so quick. Took that first race by a mile and also took pole position by a decent margin as well. So he's definitely one to have a look for. But as well, Andy McEwen, he was quite impressive as well, wasn't he, last time out?
Yeah, he was actually, to be fair. Andy McEwen has got some good pace around here. I remember this from I believe it was last season as well, that Andy McEwen seemed pretty confident around here. I don't think he had the best races, unfortunately, but it's definitely going to be, from yesterday, I suppose, the confidence that he's got. I think he'll be able to carry this through. But he was definitely up there. I feel that he's got some opportunities to challenge for Jason Cooper. So I don't think Cooper's going to have it too easy for this particular race, or even indeed qualifying.
Yes, exactly. So, about the circuit, obviously, it's just under 6 kilometers based on a World War II airfield, and there's plenty of long straights. They're not going to be getting any escape velocity. They're not going to be taking off at the end of the runways, but they will be barreling their way into, obviously, the first corner, that sweeping left-hander to pick your apex point just on the inside where there's that little cone hanging off the edge of the sort of the catch fencing on the inside. And also got that very long sunset bend, and there's so many different lines that drivers have been taking. We noticed that last night as well, different ways to take the corner. Sometimes those can end in tears when the lines cross against each other and cars are on the circuit one place another, but we just have to hope that the racing is just as exciting as it was 24 hours ago.
Absolutely. We're going to go to qualifying in a few moments' time. Everyone is very much out on circuit now. So Andy McEwen, currently one of the first people that actually was out in qualifying. He's setting some good pace at the moment. We've seen Renato Campana with a purple middle sector, but again, purple sector is sort of all about. Craig Cockrell is looking pretty good at the moment for some purple sectors, as is as well Julian Schroer. So lots and lots of different people, lots of different drivers getting involved and getting really stuck in straight away. Again, a lot of these drivers were racing yesterday. Great opportunity to test. Absolutely fantastic opportunity. You get an understanding to, work out who the best people are. Whoa, Julian Schroer has that's definitely not how you want to take turn 3, because that's going to cause some problems if you were to do that in a race. First time's going to come on the board in a few moments. There is Andy McEwen. Jason Cooper not too far behind. And then we've got, again, the likes of Glenn Humberstone, Annie Thompson, Liam Stimpson, Duncan Cobb, all out on circuit. A few people aren't, though. Sean Campbell currently isn't out on circuit. Neither is Lee Holmes, Dave Chapman, Frank Vessner, Harley Moss, Nick Clibben, Sam. There's quite a few people not currently out on circuit.
Yeah, some drivers, of course, might be serving penalties, maybe excluded from qualifying based on infringements accumulated from the first couple of rounds, maybe serving them after the race at Hockenheim. They did see a few drivers get involved in some incidents, so it's good to know that the stewards are taking a nice firm line with this and making sure the rest of the season everyone knows where they stand and can go on knowing that fair and hard racing is definitely rewarded. And we are seeing now Andy McEwen out on the first of his flying laps, but he was just getting out of the way of other drivers, so I don't expect this to be a very competitive lap time for himself. Maybe he was choosing the back out as well because of a 1x, because of this long lap. If you get that instant point early on, maybe running too wide through the first corner, it's such a long wait before you can have a second chance of going for that pole position time.
It is indeed. I was finding out yesterday in qualifying when we were looking at qualifying, and I think it was one of, I think it may have been the first lap that I did. I had a 1x at the exit of the first corner. And I was like, oh, you've got to wait what feels like an eternity before you get back round to the main, before you get back round to doing another lap again. So, getting a banker lap in here is actually relatively crucial, to be perfectly honest. And I think it's actually going to be a very, very good opportunity that if you do get a banker, there's a good chance that you can actually be quite a way up the field, because you've got to be committed around here at Sebring. You've got to be very committed at Sebring. And if you just overstep your mark, especially coming out of the exit, coming onto the second to last corner, just before sunset, or even sunset as well, you've got to be very committed. If you do overstep the mark, it most of the time goes terribly wrong.
Yeah, it's very tricky to get that corner right. I know the one you mentioned, the Le Mans section, before coming onto that straight into sunset that we're watching Duncan Cope come through now, through sunset, Ben to set his first flying lap time. And you do have to wait a while. I was watching it just to get a quick lap in, and then wasn't able to set any further. I think the time was a 2-minute 24.0, but the track time is a little bit hotter now, so expect to see times in the 2-minute 25s if they're pretty quick, and maybe dipping down into the 2-minute 24s with a nice bit of slipstream. That's probably going to be, the pole time is a mid 24. See the first times coming through their banker laps, of course, and well, you can see the 24s coming in now. Casper de Court with a great effort to go provisionally fastest, and you can see how he was able to do that with a nice, lovely slipstream from the car in front. In fact, you can see all of the 5-star motorsport drivers all together on the road. Jason Cooper at the front, Casper de Court in behind, and then just a little bit further back, Lars Fischer makes it a 5-star 1, 2, 3.
He does indeed. As you say, all of the 5-star motorsport drivers currently utilising and working together as a team, which is fantastic. Exactly what you want to see. And why wouldn't you? It does make sense. Naturally as well, you want the team to do as well as you can. You just see as well, interestingly enough there, so that was Jason Cooper then backing out to try and give Casper de Court that run. And what you'll probably find at this moment, they're going to do role reversals. So Jason Cooper's now going to, obviously he's had to back out of this lap, which is fair enough. He'll leave a bit of a gap if he can, or he'll allow a Casper de Court to make that move and to make his lap time, and then he'll start catching back up, and then he'll use a slipstream. And again, they'll just leapfrog each other. It's the best way to do it, and a really, really good way to utilise several cars within your team out on circuit. Although I'm just noticing Jason Cooper has dropped quite a sizable gap. I imagine, obviously, Casper de Court, once he's finished a lap, he'll just drop back.
I think as well that Jason Cooper is getting this gap just so he doesn't close up to the car too much in front. He's in the optimal window, around about 1 second to 1.5 seconds is the sort of the space you want to have starting a lap. So I'd imagine that's what Jason Cooper is doing, just leaving that position, leaving that room to gain back up on the following lap with the slipstream. You can see though, a little bit of different lines being taken. Like you say, I think, who is that off the side of the road? One of the Swift Cooper esports cars, that's for certain, off on the left-hand side of the track as Brian Stewart comes across the line. Doesn't seem to improve at the moment. Stays 11th fastest, 3rd fastest driver. Adam Delmont rockets up to the top of the Pro-Ams in 5th place. Good effort from the Excite Racing driver. Andy McEwen down in 6th. I don't think he's been able to get really luck of the green in terms of the slipstream, and that can have a big impact on where you'll be able to qualify. It's just not getting the right track position, the right space to get the optimal run down these straights, because it is worth a huge chunk of time, as I'm sure you're aware, Dan.
It is indeed. We found that out again yesterday when we were testing for the sort of fund race beforehand. It does give you a surprising amount. We're talking, at least an absolute minimum. You're looking at 3 or 4 tenths. If you can get a slipstream, bear in mind, if you get a slipstream, that's down the back straight before sunset. That's now going into the hairpin down at turn 5 there. You've then got the straight coming down here. There's a bit of slipstream here as well. There's so many, out of turn 10, I believe as well, there's so many different places where you can slipstream. It really, really does have a quite a sizable effect, as you say. More so than most circuits. I think that's the other thing as well. Most circuits, you will find maybe a couple of tenths. Someone like Brands Indy obviously would be almost nothing. Silverstone obviously is quite big as well. This is very much what would be a Silverstone-esque sort of circuit. We are actually going to Silverstone, the classic Silverstone, later on in the calendar. And that's a very, very big open circuit. Not necessarily designed for these sort of cars. Obviously very, very low-powered cars that we've got here. but at the same time, still makes for some very good racing. So, yeah, I'm intrigued to see what. I'm intrigued to know who did have some slipstream, who didn't. So we know that the 5-star motorsport guys have currently got some slipstream, hence why they're at this moment running in first to fourth. First to third. Luke Cooper, though, Jason Cooper's brother. Let's have a look. P4, as it stands for, that is for Swift Cooper. And he's been getting a bit of a toe off the 5-star motorsport guys as well. So he's doing very comfortable position currently in fourth. Oh, I thought it was going to be a bit of contact there. Couldn't quite see who that was. One of the 5-star motorsport cars, number 5. So that was Casper de Court. But he's going to get a nice slipstream off here. He's setting some green sectors at the moment. But again, we'll have to see. Lars Fisher's just put a purple sector 3 in. So we'll have to see if he pulls something out of that lap as well.
Adam Delmont as well has gone quick in sector 3, so he could definitely be one to watch as well. Watching them come through Sunset Bend now, following Luke Cooper, the Swift Cooper Esports car in the, well, I'm not sure what would you call it, the group of 5 stars, a constellation of 5-star motorsport cars. How about that?
I
Luke
like
Cooper
that.
in the midst of all of those drivers as he comes across the line. I don't know if there'll be an improvement there for Luke. No, there won't. So instead, he will try and find that last little bit into the final 4 minutes of this qualifying session through the first corner. You can see Apex that beautifully with that cone that I believe was a suggestion that was implemented from David Coulthard, I think, when he was racing.
Really?
I believe, yeah. I think there was a story about that. I need to try and look up to find out if that is correct information or not. I think that was a suggestion from David Coulthard.
Oh, okay, because it's a very similar concept, isn't it, to Monaco at the last corner. I can't remember who did that. I doubt it was DC as well. I've been there earlier, but I didn't know that. Well, there we go. You learn something new every day. What was he racing then? Here, must have been prototypes or something.
I think it must have been some sort of prototypes or something. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where it would have been, but for some reason I remember it being David Coulthard. It might be completely wrong, and I'm pulling it out of me backside somehow, but I'll have to try and find out.
Indeed. I'm having a look through again at the AM category. So Fiona Sidden is currently in P5 in class. Simon Robson, though, is leading the way at the moment with a 226.5. So Simon Robson is leading the way within the AM category. And then Adam Delmont still leading the way in the Pro-Am category in the 777. Again, times looking very close as ever. Why would they be anything different? So a few people, as you were saying, serving some penalties and have been excluded from qualifying, hence why we do not see them out on circuit. 12 minutes and 43 seconds have gone. Only a couple of minutes remain. So realistically, we've only got one chance. This is it. Anyone that started this lap now, that is it. This is your last chance. You will not cross the line when it goes before the checkered flag drops for qualifying. Andy McEwen has actually done a purple sector 6. I wonder if that was a bit of tow, a bit of slipstream going down into Sunset Corner. I would most probably assume that. Fiona Siddons goes a little bit wide, unfortunately. That may have been an off-track. So that will be the last of Fiona Siddons' laps. So no other movements at this stage. Unless it wasn't off-track, I'd be very, very surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah, so we'll see now Sam Smith come through for his final effort of qualifying with the AAA of Ashley Stimpson in behind him. 227 there, having a nice, easy line through these two harsh runners before coming up to, it's quite a bit tight right. It's a little bit deceptive of the line to take. You want to just avoid that curve on the inside, which he does. A nice exit by Sam Smith. And now a long run into the Le Mans section of the circuit. 2 sweeping lefts. We'll have to brake, shift it down to third and coast it into the right-hander here. Brings it down the gear into third. Avoids the curves because it can unsettle the car if you just hook a wheel a little bit too far. Brakes a little bit earlier but turns in nice and quick. Powers out. Could be a good exit from Sam Smith, but the thing is he doesn't have anyone to slipstream off of. So while this is a good lap, in theory, just from what we're seeing, it isn't going to necessarily be there because of the slipstream. He hasn't had any help at all. Whereas in behind, Ashley Stimpson has been eating up this slipstream, absolutely loving life in behind. Turns in nice and early into the Sunset Bend, which is what I tend to do. I tend to get quite close to the wall on the inside. Then keep the car in a straight line, break down into third gear, keep it tight, and then power out as early as you can. Because then that gives you an amazing run down the start finish straight. Ashley Stimpson would come across the line, 23rd at the moment. Is there an improvement? Oh, is there? Just up into 18th place. Good effort from Ashley Stimpson. Fourth fastest AM driver, though, behind Simon Robson in 11th, Glenn Humberston in 15th, and Brian Stewart in 16th. So the AM driver is definitely very quick. As Sean Campbell, very late on in the day, improves up into the top 10. Good stuff there from the driver who took his first race victory last time. And what a drift that was through turn one.
Well, I mean, saved it. Whether that was intentional or not, it may very well have been. I knew that was a good lap for him, so he'll, I'm sure, will be. There's more time in the bag, I think, for Sean Campbell. Like I said, that was his actual first flying lap that we have seen. I would imagine there is more time in the bag there for Sean Campbell in the number 32 TechSense Fitzy Athena car. We will have to wait and see. A little bit further down, Craig McDonald, currently P7 in the Pro-Am category. Again, hard for us to tell at this point where people have got some slipstream, where people haven't. Whether Craig McDonald has, again, I feel with most of pretty much every driver here, there's always going to be something left in the bag, I think. There's always going to be just that little bit extra that you'll be able to take, I think, realistically. So, again, we'll have to see how it goes come race one. Because that way, at least then we'll see a much easier opportunity as to where everyone is. And that will give us, like I said, straight away, a good sense that people may be looking more so to the race. I definitely felt that was the case yesterday, again, from a few people we saw as well. Is qualifying, we saw a few people that the qualifying wasn't necessarily reflective of their pace. And then as soon as it came to the race, that's when we saw the pace come through. Because, again, they were just obviously much more within traffic. Slipstream obviously played a factor into it. So I'm really not counting qualifying as a guideline. I'm not necessarily counting it more so as out and outright pace for everyone here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the race goes on because, of course, with the slipstream, qualifying isn't everything. Of course, Casper will be very happy with his effort to go pole and take the first non-Jason Cooper pole position of the season. Jason taking poles in the first two rounds back-to-back and taking race victories in the first race of the evening back-to-back as well. So you'll definitely be seeing a very hungry Jason Cooper to try and take another race victory to add to his already quite impressive tally, it has to be said. Drivers making their way into the pits, so qualifying is about to come to an end. And the stage is set for a cracking first race of the evening at Sebring. Casper DeCourt and Jason Cooper making up the front row with another 5-star motorsport car in third. So all those three drivers locking out the top three spots. They're going to be very happy with that effort. Luke Cooper then for Swift Cooper Esports, fourth place for him. Adam Delmont, fastest of the Pro-Ams, in fifth place. So keep your eyes open for Adam as well, trying to maybe mix it up with the pros.
Absolutely. We're going to get confirmation up on the grid order for the first round, the first race in a few moments for you. But again, a 5-star motorsport front row lockout. And as you say, it is the first non-pole position for Jason Cooper this season. Certainly going to spice things up. Again, there's going to be, imagine some team orders, not team orders, but maybe some team taxes as well going through. You'll probably find as well, and I would almost say that there's going to be minimal fighting, especially at the start. And then as soon as a gap has been pulled, if their gap has been pulled, then we'll be able to actually have the racing on. So here we are. There is the grid for you. Casper DeCourt, you can see there is the confirmation for the 5-star motorsport. And then alongside that front row lockout with Jason Cooper alongside. Lars Fisher takes P3 and Luke Cooper P4. Delmont P5 with James Clark for Swift Cooper in P6. We then have Andy McEwen in P7, Sam Smith 8th, Michael Seal 9th with Sean Campbell rounding out your top 10. Duncan Cope takes 11th, Simon Robson takes P12, and he is currently the AM pole position man. And then we've got Craig Cockrell, Julian Schroer, Shane Piggott, Glenn Humberstone up to 16th, then Brian Stewart, Craig McDonald P18, Ashley Simpson P19, Alan McNally in 20th for the other Excite Racing car, Liam Stimpson 21st, Renato Campana 22nd, Craig Schill in P23, Fiona Siddons takes P24, Mark Oliver P25, Annie Thompson for Swift Cooper, the number 13, in 26th position. Dave Chapman in 27th with Nick Clibbins P28. Lee Holmes for 88 Tech takes P29 on the grid. Frank Vestner in 30th for race run the 333. And then Harley Moss P31, the number 97. And then Douglas Stewart rounds out the 32 car grid for race 1 here.
Yeah, 32 cars on the grid. They're already, the stage is set for a brilliant first race of the evening. Casper de Court and Jason Cooper into turn 1 with Lars Fischer right behind and Luke Cooper as well. And now, when we did the first race, and the only race I was actually able to make, there were cars going 3 wide into the first corner. I was in the middle. It was very scary. Hopefully we won't be seeing too much of that, but you can always be sure that the drivers will try and fight for every inch of concrete here, because no asphalt until you get out of turn 1, so that also adds a little bit of dynamic in the different track sections, the different levels of grip that drivers have to establish. And off the line, is there going to be wheel spin because of it? Casper de Court off the line. Is he going to get jumped by Jason Cooper? Not quite. It's a good start from the both of them, as well as Lars Fischer in the background. All of the drivers on the front 2, and actually front 3 rows, getting away rather nicely. You can just see Andy McEwen fancying a move down the inside. I think he's going for it, you know, and going to take it on James Clark. So good stuff from Andy. Right up behind now Luke Cooper, who's dropped back 1 place. Adam Delmont has gone through. Yes, he has, into 4th place. So good stuff from Adam. But it is all of the 5-star motorsport cars as they work. Casper de Court, Jason Cooper, Lars Fischer as they exit turn number 4. And they come through the sweeping right-hander into the hairpin. No major dramas as of yet, which is always good to see. But into the hairpin, the first chance to get really heavy on the brakes, cold tyres. Are we going to see drivers maybe overstep the mark? This is number 17. Oh, and he spins it around on cold tyres. That's Simon Robson, who had a bit of a lunge, had to go onto the gravel, onto the grass rather. As soon as the car came back on, slippy surface, on the tyres and powering out. There was only one thing that car was wanting to do, and that was spin it all the way around. Most of the cars getting through that nice and cleanly. They can only see one driver really drop back, and that is, of course, the aforementioned Simon Robson. Oh, as we see, there's a bit of door banging there, actually. Who was that between? Was that potentially Shane Piggott getting a bit of a friendly bump from James Clark?
It was just a little bit of a as you say, door banging there. Well, a bit more door banging there between the 4-7 Adam McNally, and that was behind, I think, Julian Schroer getting involved there. So again, some tussles happening already. We'll have to see if everyone starts to calm down a little bit. Whether that's the case or not, I'm not entirely sure. But a little bit further down the field, Dave Chapman, Nick Clibbins are going to go side by side, and we do have Dave Chapman going around the outside. Very, very good stuff indeed. What we like to see, nice committed moves straight out of the gate, but they're also committed and clean as well. At the front, though, Jason Cooper is now overtaking Casper de Court. Is he going to pull in? No, doesn't have time to, but he still manages to get the entry going in. It is still a 5-star motorsport top 3 at the end of your first lap. There is your confirmation on the left-hand side of the screen now with the time it out. So Cooper, de Court, Fischer are currently in your top 3. Adam Delmont has moved up into P4. Luke Cooper has dropped a position, unfortunately. So again, we'll have to see. The intervals now come up on your screen. A sea of orange and yellow again, as we are used to seeing and accustomed to seeing in this motorsport series, which again is nothing bad for us because it gives us a lot to commentate on. But 5-star motorsport really, really working together, aren't they? They're really trying to... Well, I mean, I thought they were going to try and make a gap.
They're not really working together, because just into the first quarter, Casper de Court took back the lead of the race from Jason Cooper with a good committed move to the inside. And that has really allowed all of the drivers to close back in behind. You can see Delmont, Cooper, McEwen are hungry in the background, but they're starting to squabble between themselves. You can see Adam Delmont around the outside to the inside. We're going to see a defense from Actually, that was a defense from Fisher. Cooper is slotting in behind McEwen as well. Here's a replay of Craig Schill. And I think was that who was going on here? So we're going to have a look at this replay into the first corner. Craig Schill around the outside. There's already a spinner up in front. Oh, and I think he tries to go around the outside of that spin to take evasive action, but unfortunately gets caught up in the incident itself, which is unfortunate. But if he's been able to keep the car moving, or if that is sadly a trip to the pits as well. Dave Chapman, good to see him back out on the track. Didn't really notice him much, but good to see him back after missing the second round of the championship at the Hockenheim Ring. Is back for Sebring.
Well, I mean, what a track to come back on, to be fair. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Douglas Stewart currently riding in P10 in the Pro-Am category. Lee Holmes is a couple of cars up ahead, but unfortunately it's a couple of cars, but it's also about 5 seconds. Not ideal, and something that I'm sure Douglas Stewart will want that gap to come down significantly in the very, very near future. I've also had a look as well. The gap between Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer is now 1.3 seconds. Whoa, big moment from Douglas Stewart. What a save there. That was a very, very good save indeed. And I'm sure he's going to be relieved at that save as well. But further upcoming, this is a battle for P19. Dave Chapman goes up the inside. Speaking of Dave Chapman, as you were earlier on it, here he is. He just made a move on Lee Holmes. And that seems to be done and dusted for him.
Yeah, Lee Holmes trying to fight it on the exit, but I think Dave Chapman will have this into the next corner. We've just seen, though, as well, Delmont has got up into fourth place, having a good scrap with Cooper and Fisher, I believe. So he was a little bit of change of position I saw there, as Smith has just got ahead of McEwen. Sam Smith racing up at the front as well. So while we were saying Delmont might be able to secure the pro victory and instead focus on fighting the pros, he doesn't have that much of a buffer to Sam Smith in behind him.
No, very true again. This is where the slipstream really comes into effect. And if the slipstream isn't there, that's when it also becomes a very, very big problem. Because, you know, you tend to find this with most places that,
look at that
incredibly long.
Duncan Cope, I think, is fancying a move with Adam McNally.
All the 3 wide.
You can see them all, and there's been contact on the exit. There's all the coming together there. One of the Simtech racing cars.
That's Luke Cooper.
To take through the grass. Luke Cooper was the car, was he off at the hairpin involved in an incident. Hopefully we can get a replay to find out exactly what happened. But first, we're going to stick with this because Shane Piggott is going wheel to wheel with Craig Cockrell. This is for 10th place. Can't seem to make the move just yet. Has to focus on keeping the overlap. Bit of a bump on the exit. And has to, I think, concede the position. So Craig Cockrell, for the moment, holds on to 10th place. Look at the lunge down the inside from McDonald. He can't quite make it stick. So Craig has to slot in behind still. And that could open the door now for Julian Schroer, potentially. No, are they all going to sort it out? Maybe they will, as Duncan Cope gets passed by David Chapman, who is on a charge.
He is indeed. Dave Chapman is on an absolute mission as it stands at the moment. But again, we'll have to see if that continues. He's got a couple of cars ahead, so he's still got some positions to be made up, as long as he just keeps that composure as he moves forward. A little bit wide though for Shane Piggott. That will cost him a bit of time. Craig McDonald has got a good run that you can see on the Delta.
Cooper and the court change positions once again. They were very close into Sunset Bend. Going to be following Craig McDonald though on board. He's going to have an amazing run on Shane Piggott. Opts to go around the outside. Carries a lot of speed through. Too wide, yes, but is he going to try and maybe get a switchback move or power out nicely from the corner and maybe challenge into turn 1? You can see the interval coming down, but it won't be enough to make the move into the first corner. But just behind, Stimpson is fancying a move on Humberston. I think you can see how close they are. Inside line going to go for Ashley Stimpson. The 888 sends it in, but has to slow down too much because of that tighter line. And Glenn Humberston will hold on for 13th for the moment. In the background, Dave Chapman, who has already made up 8 places so far, makes it potentially 9 as he goes for a bit of a battle with Lee Holmes, but just lives out good defense from Lee, who himself has actually had a good charge through the field. Up 11 places, same as Adam McNally, who's in 9th place, who's had a great race, but I think his pace and his progress up the field has started to slow now that he has a 5-second margin between himself and James Clark just ahead. So I think for the moment, McNally will be settling for 9th place, hoping for better in the upcoming races. But look at all of these drivers up ahead. DeCourt and Cooper, Fisher, Delmont and McEwen. And look at Delmont, he sends it down the inside up into 3rd place. They fight together. There's a little bit of a touch potentially. And now Andy McEwen, is he going to fancy a move on all of them? He's going to have to go to the outside if he wants to go for anything. And isn't able to go for it. But look at the drive he gets out of the corner. Has to tap the brake lights just to avoid contact with the back of Delmont. He's got a great view of these two battling together. But as he sees this, he can also see DeCourt and Cooper vanish off into the distance.
Yeah, not exactly what you want to see. He's trying, you can see actually, he's trying to brake a bit earlier, trying to modulate the brake a little bit, waiting for the car to settle. He is going slower into the corner, admittedly. He's losing time on the way in, but he's got the two cars battling up ahead. So you've got Delmont and Fisher that are battling. This is a prime opportunity. You saw that. He backed off going into the second to last corner. He left a bit of position. That's a bit of a bump there going through into Delmont to try and get that bit of a jump to push Delmont through, so essentially he can come through as well. Jason Cooper comes back on Casper DeCourt as well, so that's happening up front. But then further back down, this gaggle of 4 cars now, which we can see, possibly even 5, because you've got Sean Campbell and then Michael Seal getting involved. This is really starting to hot up. Andy McEwen, he's got a good position through here. But have a look as well, because you've got Sean Campbell that got a really good drive. Might even try and go around the outside of Lars Fischer. At the moment, it's going to have to be brave because now he's been cut off. He can't quite make it around the outside. He can't take his normal racing line at this point. He's going to have to go a little bit wider. But at the moment, just about gets squeezed by Lars Fischer. Bit of an opposite lock moment there. Manages to keep it. I really have no idea what's going to happen. They're going to go 3 wide into turn 3. That's a brave move. Andy McEwen is now into P4. Oh my goodness, I just can't keep up.
Yeah, and Campbell is having a great race. He's loving this, and I'm loving watching him come through. Started in 10th place, up 5 places into 5th now as he has the inside line, has the slipstream off of Andy McEwen coming into the hairpin. You'd imagine the 5-star motorsport driver will be able to try and fight a way through, maybe around the outside if he can go for it, but no, Lars Fischer can't. So Campbell up into 5th place, right up behind Andy McEwen. Delmont, how on earth did he stay in 3rd place after all of that? That was mega racing from all involved, and the most important thing is that it was kept nice and clean. This is an amazing fight as we see yet more fighting everywhere we look here at Sebring. Further down, we can see Sam Smith in the Simtech Pro car, the one with the sort of the orange trim on the sides and on the front as opposed to blue all over. Losing out just a touch as Liam Stimpson and I believe the other Stimpson, Ashley Stimpson, go wheel to wheel. No love lost between the pair of these two as they come now into very deceptively tight right-hander, and there's contact, but no cars off, which is a bit of a relief, especially considering their teammates. We've seen enough of teammates colliding in the past couple of rounds for hopefully see us through to the rest of the season, but we know what these drivers are like. There's no team orders in any of the teams. They like to race nice and hard, as is being established everywhere across the field, because look at this. Julian Schroer fancies a move but can't make it, and this is great stuff from Lee Holmes, who's able to take another couple of positions up 13 places into 16th. Casper DeCourt and Jason Cooper as well, proving that there's no team orders in 5-star motorsport because they've been battling hammer and tongs for the past 12 minutes, and they're going to carry on, I think, for the remainder of this race, as we see McEwen and Fisher just swapping on the left-hand side of our timing sheets. So I can imagine there's been some tussling into the first corner as Campbell now retains 5th place. Nope, Fisher's back in front. There's a lot of fighting everywhere we look, because Andy McEwen gets close to Delmont up in front. Can't make a way through. Look at all of these cars, though, squabbling 4 positions. We're going to follow Julian Schroer into the first corner and watch the 2 Stimpsons up ahead. Liam ahead of Ashley. Taking a nice defensive line is Liam. But look at this. Lee Holmes, what a move that was into the first corner. He seems to be such a quick driver as Lee. I would not be surprised to see him bumped up into the pro class just based on his performances so far this season are really things you have to stand up and take note of.
Absolutely, very, very true. They've got to, I believe it's the 4th round, and that's when changes, if any changes are going to be made, they will happen. Julius Schroer gets a poor exit going out of turn 5. That has cost him. It's cost him a position onto Sam Smith. Up the front, though, going down into the hairpin. This is going to be Adam McNally versus Craig McDonald. Craig McDonald manages to get the move done, and Dustin, whoa, bit of a contact there. Managed to keep it all in check. How have people not had any more incidents than this? And there's been no spins out of these contacts. I do not know, but they're going to go 3 wide coming down into the middle part of this lap. Can't remember the turns for the life of me, so I do apologise. But it's going to be Adam McNally and Craig Cockrell side by side. There's more contact as well. Still no one spins. Unfortunately, Adam McNally has lost some time, but ultimately, Shane Piggott's now going to have a bit of a nibble if he can on the back bumper of of Adam McNally. Can't quite make it at the moment, but McNally goes a little bit wide. That's going to give a very good run to Shane Piggott if he can capitalise on it. Nothing at the moment, though. I've just had a look. What's happened to Dave Chapman? Has he had a spin or something? Because he's now down currently. Actually, no, apologies. No, he's just actually moved up into P17. I was thinking he was in a different position. So Dave Chapman has now made 10 places as it stands at the moment, and there's still more battling going on, which we're going to jump to in a few moments, one of which is Nick Clibbins and Julian Schroer. So Nick Clibbins up the inside, coming down into the third to last corner on the inside. Well, he thought he was going to have a move possibly on Dave Chapman then, but Dave Chapman managed to. They all go wide. Everyone's taken the rallycross line, come on the exit of the second to last corner. This is the problem. You just follow one another as well. There's no aero loss with these cars. They don't have any aero in the first place, but there's all just you follow. You get sucked into the car in front, and you do tend to follow them, which is why we saw pretty much everyone go off at that moment in time. But still squabbling, fighting for positions. Everyone here. There's only a certain amount of track. There's only a certain limit of track here, and everyone's trying to find it all at the same time.
Yeah, I think we are seeing definitely what you're mentioning, all the drivers fighting together, but we are on the final lap here. Casper DeCourt and Jason Cooper just streaking away into the distance while all the squabbling happens for the bottom step of the podium. Currently Adam Delmont holding on to this, but then look at the fight for 9th place. You've got Craig Cockrell just at the front, but close behind. You've got Craig McDonald, Adam McNally and Shane Piggott all there fighting through. Glenn Humston just waiting in the wing should anything happen. Going to go to a replay here of Dave Chapman coming out of the final corner off onto the grass, able to recover the car, but you can see how much the twitching was. It was so difficult to get back under control, and has to just try and find a way through the sea of cars. But we come now to a replay, and that was out of the first corner. Dave Chapman, I think, spun around.
Unfortunately, we haven't got any more replays. That's really the only sort of replays we've got of that instance. So I couldn't quite see what happened there, although we've got a fair few people out. Sam Smith, Nick Clibbins, Frank Vestner, Craig Schill.
Close for third. Is Andy McEwen going to go for it on Delmont? Let's have a look at this. They're so close together, packed nice and tightly as they make their way into the final sector, the final couple of sectors. Jason, you can see Andy McEwen just losing out a little bit as Campbell with another great move in the dying stages on Andy McEwen, not for the race lead, but for 4th place. Could even be 3rd because he's in the best possible spot. Going to get an amazing tow off of the rear of Adam Delmont as into the final corner. Cooper's just gotten ahead of Casper DeCourt. The two leaders are changing positions. This is going to be close at the line. Jason Cooper has the position, but is he going to have the run out of the corner? Casper DeCourt with a good exit. You can see that time coming down. It will be a drag race up to the line, but I think it will just be taken by Jason Cooper at the line. That's a great race victory from Jason. Bided his time, picked his moment, and came on through. Across the line, Lars Fischer comes out on top. Lars Fischer comes home in 3rd place to make it a 5-star 1, 2, 3. What has happened, though, to Andy McEwen? He was in the midst of that fight, and all of a sudden, he's nowhere.
Have a look as well. P19 currently is Andy McEwen. I wonder if he's got any. I wonder how much damage that he's got currently. He's actually just gone to the pits. So there won't be any technically finishing position for Andy McEwen. We have got a replay, so I do want to have a look at that. And you notice Sean Campbell, he dropped down a little bit. He ended up in P7. So let's see what happened here. Again, I think it's just because it could just be too many cars fighting for the same position. So Annie McEwen is on the outside. Okay, that was, again, always going to happen in a million years. There was never going to be a situation where that wasn't going to involve an incident, realistically. Unfortunately, it's a shame that it did happen. But let's just watch this again from a slightly different angle. So again, we see... I wonder, did Adam Delmont touch the wall on the inside? And then that caused him to sort of like bump out a little bit.
That's a good point, actually. Hopefully we can have a look, maybe see if we can slow it down and try and figure out exactly how all of that happened. Maybe, though, we can do that after we've got the spinning wheel up and spun to determine the reverse grid finishing order and who will be on pole position. We'll know that Andy McEwen will be hoping for a nice big number, and he'll be starting up at the front. And it's a top 20 reverse grid. So plenty of scope for drivers to make some gains. You can see on the left-hand side, that is provisionally David Chapman. So we'll be able to see when we have confirmation of the results, we can get that up on your screens. We shall run you through and be able to tell you who is on reverse grid pole position.
We should do, absolutely. But let's just have a quick slowdown. I just really want to have a look at this. What actually happened, because there's a lot to unpack here. There is a lot to unpack. Let's have a look from Adam Delmont's perspective. Now, from the roll bar from business, you can see at this point it's 3 wide. Now, realistically, Adam Delmont's on what would be considered probably not an optimal line. It just carries a bit too much speed
in.
Yeah, it's too much speed.
Just a touch too much. But when you are racing 3 wide, I'm not sure how it works in terms of certain series rulings, but from what I'm aware, and I'm going to put my amateur steward's hat on, is that the driver who decides to make it 3 wide, the last driver to basically arrive on the scene and make a move into a corner 3 wide, is the one who's sort of, I guess, liable for the contact. But I'm not entirely sure what the ruling is on this season. Anyway, into that first corner is so hard to call anything but a racing incident. That's just what happens when you go on the final lap into sunset 3 wide. Andy McEwen, though, on the outside line was always going to be coming out worse if there was contact.
Unfortunately so. I mean, you'd think initially it'd be the safest point of the circuit, but as we have found out, unfortunately that may not necessarily be the case. Here is, though, your official standings for race 1. So Jason Cooper did indeed take that race win, only by 500ths of a second. So not a lot at all. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely close. What we love to see. Casper de Cour in P2 and Lars Fischer, as you say, a 5-star motorsport 1, 2 and 3. Lars Fischer for BSR, Michael Seal for BSR takes P4, Adam Delmont P5 with James Clark running out in P6. Sean Campbell with that incident in P7, Craig Cockrell 8th, Craig McDonald in 9th and Shane Piggott for Shepherd Motorsport BSR, the number 127, rounding out your top 10. Adam McNally takes home at P11 with Glenn Humberstone in 12th. Ashley Stimpson takes home P13 and Triple Eight Sim Tech Pro Am. Liam Stimpson takes home P14 with Lee Holmes in 15th. Douglas Stewart 16th, Harley Moss in 17th with Mark Oliver in P18. A little bit further down the order, Dave Chapman at 19th after an earlier spin, which did cost him several positions and did drop him back down to P19. Julian Schoer in P20 with Luke Cooper in P21. Andy Thompson, 22nd. Frank Vessner, 23rd. And Nick Clemens in P24. Unfortunately, Andy McEwen with that last incident on the last corner of Sunset, finishing technically 1 lap down, as well as Fiona Siddons, Sam Smith, Duncan Cope. And then we have a few more drivers, as we can see there. Renato Campana, Brian Stewart, Craig Hill, Simon Robson not finishing on the lead lap, so they will not receive any points.
Unfortunately, so no points for any drivers, like you mentioned, that finished 2 laps down or more. Of course, a 20 reverse grid sees Dave Chapman start from pole position. So good stuff from the returning driver to the championship. We missed him last season, but good to see him back in the saddle, and hopefully this will be his turn take his first race victory of the season and maybe start to mount a championship charge. But I can't see them. Any drivers awaiting their time in the spotlight, awaiting their time in the interview box with either of us. So I think we will go to a short break and be back with all of the action here at Sebring for the next race of 4 here this evening. So stay tuned to Absolute Sim Racing. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome back, everyone, to race number 2 for round 3 of the British Sim Racers SIM3D MX5 trophy. Warm-up is nearly finished, and then we will be getting into the second race with a top 20 reverse grid. A fairly sizable reverse grid, not the biggest we've seen, not the smallest we have seen, and I'm sure we're going to get a few. Obviously, we're going to have another, at least 2 more reverse grid races. So, again, this is the first race of the reverse grid style. It'll be the first race based on the qualifying that everyone does, and then from then on, it will go through to the via the reverse grid races. Ed, by the sounds of it, is back. Are you there, Ed? Can you hear me?
Yep, I am back, and I can hear you, and this is going to be a great evening, isn't it? A great race. You can see that the sun is starting to set, so we will have the sunset at Sunset Bend. But the racing is still yet to come, isn't it? With the 20 reverse grid, Dave Chapman from pole position. He's got to be a favourite for the race victory.
Absolutely. A few more. I think we've got literally about another minute or so, and then we'll be on the way. Jason Cooper is setting. Everyone's obviously got about 10 minutes to join the server and then jump in, and then they're able to set a lap. We're seeing what looks like a pretty much out of the box lap from Jason Cooper. So Jason Cooper definitely had to work for it, didn't he? He really had to work for it last race. So I'm sure we're going to see that again. Obviously, he will be starting in P20 with Casper Court just starting ahead of him. And we saw that those two, it was just time. It was backwards and forwards all of the time. I wonder if we're going to see them working together a little bit more, purely because they want to obviously try and get through traffic and then battle. However, they were battling. I mean, they were working, to be honest, I think they were working together to some degree because they were leapfrogging each other quite a lot. We were seeing a lot of movements back and forth, but they were doing it going into sunset pretty much all of the time. So that would be the slipstream and then leapfrogging each other, trying to pull themselves away. And as a result of that, they did manage to pull around about a 6-second gap, I think it was. So I wonder if we're going to see something the same from them two today in this race.
Yeah, we might do, We might see a little bit of teamwork potentially between all of the 5-star motorsport drivers, because they're all obviously going to be starting together on the same bit of track. But as well, in these larger reverse grids, it's kind of just about every person for themselves. You can't obviously wait up for other drivers. You can't spend a little bit of time, as we see the grid now coming up on your screen. So I'll quickly run you through. Julian Schroer ahead of Dave. It's Julian Schroer actually on pole position, head of Dave Chapman, Mark Oliver, Harley Moss, Douglas Stewart, Lee Holmes, Liam Stimson, Ashley Stimson, Glenn Humberston, and Adam Manani, who completes your top 10. Shane Pickett 11th, and Craig McDonald 12th. Then we will go to 13th place. Craig Cockrell ahead of Sean Campbell, James Clark, Adam Delmont, Michael Seal, Lars Fisher, Casper DeCourt, Jason Cooper, Luke Cooper, Andy Thompson, Frank Vestner, and Nick Clibbins. Nick Clibbins, who go to Andy McEwen, Fiona Siddons, Sam Smith, Duncan Cope, Renato Campana, Brian Stewart, Craig Schill, and Simon Robson, with Calvin Dent 33rd place, rounding out the grid for the second race of the evening. So it's Julian Schroer and Dave Chapman, but Dave Chapman's pace was very strong. If he comes up to the grid, he'll be a favourite, but you can't see him making his way to the grid, so he's going to leave an empty grid spot. That means Julian Schroer will be uncontested into the first corner here, so maybe Dave Chapman having to serve a pit start penalty. We'll see the cars get underway, and Julian Schroer off the marks very strongly indeed into the first corner. He will go unchallenged from Mark Oliver. Douglas Stewart in the background as well, having a little bit of stuff to think about, as Mark Oliver and they're going to go 3 wide. I think they were. All of a sudden, you can see Douglas Stewart sweeping his way around the outside. Great stuff. Julian Schroer a little bit wide out of the first corner. That's going to open the door massively for Douglas Stewart to go all the way through up into first place.
Good move straight away from Douglas Stewart. Really, really on a charge in the Pro-Am category, so needs to capitalise on it because Julian Schroer and Lee Holmes are battling behind. Whoa! Big moment, though, from Douglas Stewart. That's going to cost him 5, 6, 7 positions. Actually, it might only cost him about 5. It's Constantino up, though, at the front. It's Constantino up behind as well. So Douglas Stewart drops from 1st to 5th in the space of about 200 yards. Coming down now, Lee Holmes is taking currently what is the lead going into the hairpin for the first time, but and he manages to go around the the outside of Julian Schroer. Good move indeed through there. Bit of contact as well, bit of door banging. Everyone still managed to go and to continue riding straight, though, which is exactly what we want. We don't want any spins, and there hasn't been any as of yet. Sean Campbell has made up 5 positions already, and Douglas Stewart's actually trying to go up the inside of Mark Oliver, possibly. We're going to have to come back to that in a moment. There's battling going on absolutely everywhere. We can see a bit of side-by-side up the front, and that, I think, was Shane Piggott and Mark Oliver that are going to go side by side. Yes, it is indeed, but Sean Campbell wants to fancy move around the outside. That's a brave move at the best of times. Looked like he was going to get cut off then. I thought Craig McDonald was going to have a bit of a look up the inside, decides against it though. So that's up at the front half of the field. At the rear, we have got, I think Frank Vestner's just had a bit of a moment. Yes, he is. So Frank Vestner's had a big moment. But we do have as well Dave Chapman and Simon Robson going battle. Calvin Dent's only just up the road, and he's getting stuck into the second race of the season. The second race of this round. But again, Craig Cockrell is making some move. Casper Court is moving through the field as well. So's Luke Cooper. Again, just battling all throughout the field like we have normally seen. I think Sean Campbell has gone off track as well. That may have cost him some positions. And he's still in P9, so it may have just a small off track on the second to last corner. But again, this is where it becomes tricky because they all start concertinaing up now. You don't really know what people are going to do, especially when you've got cold tyres. Last thing you want to do is to have a moment and have a slide, because it's very difficult to catch when you have got cold tyres in these cars. They're relatively easy to drive on the limits when you have got the tyres all warmed up. They're pretty much a death trap when they're cold.
Yeah, they are very tricky to manage when the tyres are cool, as we see cars.
Oh my goodness.
What on earth has gone on there? There's a huge pile-up of cars. Hopefully everyone gets through. Oh no, they aren't getting through that cleanly, are they?
Oh dear.
They spoke a little bit too late there. They did not get through that cleanly. There's a huge pile-up, and we're going to have to, I think, go to a replay and try and figure out what on earth has happened, because nearly half the field has been taken out in one fell swoop. Thankfully, though, for Jason Cooper's championship hopes, he's gotten through that nice and cleanly. But let's have a glance and figure out exactly what happens. So we're going to follow Glenn Humberston.
Oh,
here.
Shane Piggott.
And it happens up in front. It's Shane Piggott having a coming together with, I'm not sure who else that was. It was definitely one of the 88 Tech cars, but which one remains to be seen. It was Shane Piggott up in front.
God.
And I'm trying to see the number. I just couldn't see the number of the car. I just missed it. What is that? Well, there's the 88 Glenn Humberston we can see there, but there's another car. And I'm not sure who it was. Was it just Glenn? Do you think it was just a matter of Shane Piggott just coming across maybe coming across too much, or was it?
No, I think it was the other way around. I can't quite see who that was. We have still got a race going on, so we'll have a look at that maybe at the end of the race. As you say, it was one of the 88 Tech cars. I just having a look. I think from the first angle that I saw, it looked like Shane Piggott just got squeezed to the inside, and nothing really could have been done from his perspective. I could be wrong, but again, we'll have to see. Like I said, as you say, a lot of the field is now currently out, or at least heavily damaged. We have got, though, at the moment, Calvin Dent has currently made up 21 positions, and he's being pressured currently at the moment by Andy McEwen. So Andy McEwen is nursing a little bit of damage at the front end. So I wonder if we're going to see a bit of a battle. Well, we're going to see a possible overtake happening in a few moments. Sam Smith up ahead is going side by side with Jason Cooper. We know how confident Jason Cooper is going into Sunset. A little bit further up ahead, though, as well, Craig Cockrell has just passed Adam Delmont as it stands at the moment.
I think I found out the driver involved, and it was Mark Oliver, I believe, who was the car involved with that incident initially with Shane Piggott. Obviously not going to say too much on it because we haven't seen the full incident. We'll have a look at that later on, but I've had to do process of elimination. Glenn Humberston obviously arrived at the scene and was caught up in the incident. Lee Holmes, the other 88 Tech driver, far and away off towards the front of the race and not involved in that incident whatsoever. So that only leaves 99 of Mark Oliver, who we can see on our timing software as out of this race. So I think that was down to Mark as we come now and see Nick Clibbins scrapping nicely and getting ahead of Harley Moss, who's on track for yet another AM class victory. And Harley Moss, I'm not sure if Harley's going to get moved up to the Pro-Am class or not, because he's been putting great performances in, but I'm not sure if it's enough to mix it up with the Pro-Ams. I think it's sort of in no man's land at the moment for Harley.
It's always the way, isn't it? I mean, you've probably got to. That's a very, very long name. That's why the name on the left hand side in the bottom left is a very, very long tag, because it's the sequential sim sport powered by Evicted Esports. That's a mouthful. Try saying that a few times in a row. As you say, yeah, it's just a bit of no man's land. I think, to be fair, I think the best thing that Harley could do, I think, at this point, is to move up into Pro-Am. Because it will push you more. It will push you more to try and find that bit of extra pace. Try and find a little bit more in terms of possible adjustments in racecraft or something similar. I really, really would try and would be saying to Harley to move up into the next category. Up ahead, though, I think nearer the front of the field, have we had a change of position? Yes, we have, because Lee Holmes has passed. So I'm just trying to see what really has happened. I think there's been quite a bit of tussling up ahead. Douglas Stewart is now he's into P5, so he's currently finished where he's currently where he started. He has got his teammates alongside, so Julian Shaw. I wonder, he's actually just got past on the timing tower, as you can see. So he's going to have the advantage going into Sunset Corner. But Julian Schroeder decides against that. He's going to try and go on the outside. Can't quite make it at the moment. I think, I don't think Douglas Stewart may have turned in just a fraction too early then. Had to make a correction. And Julian Schroeder, though, has got a very, very good drive. He is now ahead, as he will be going now into turn one. Casper Court and Jason Cooper still trying to move through the field as best they can. A little bit fair. You can just see in the back of shot there, Casper Court has just got past Craig Cockrell. And there's now a position in between himself and Jason Cooper. But again, that might change straight away because Jason Cooper is on the inside going through turn one. And Douglas Stewart doesn't make the move. He can't quite make any move back on Julian Schroeder. So Julian Schroeder currently now sits in P4. And Douglas Stewart is unable to capitalise on any movement at this stage. But we've still got 8 minutes to go. No, we haven't. We've got 7 minutes to go. So I don't know what I'm talking about. Ignore me. But battling up and down the significantly smaller field from what we saw at the start of this race.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, of course, a knock-on effect of that huge incident earlier on. Means, of course, the reverse grid has a high chance of, I guess, being a, for all intents and purposes, a full reverse. Obviously, drivers that finish 2 laps down don't score points and also not eligible for reverse grid pole positions. So that lessens the pool somewhat. As Douglas Stewart is trying to maybe run away past Julian Schroeder, perhaps his teammate, or maybe work together. Going to see a replay now as the race has died down a little bit of Mark Oliver. And I think he did just come across the front end. Yeah, unfortunately comes across the front end of Shane Piggott. And that is going to be a big meeting, I think, for the stewards to summon the penalty for that. As well, we saw several drivers involved in that incident. Sean Campbell, gutting for him, who had such a great race. Nothing he could have done. He was completely the first driver to get collected in the aftermath of that incident. Went all the way to the left-hand side, but couldn't evade it. Andy McEwen has picked up a bit of damage, but is going to be grateful to still be running up 14 places since the start of the race, up in 11th place. As we come to a bit of a bump draft, I think, as Delmont pushes Casper Lecourt past Julian Schroeder and then takes the position for himself as well. Good stuff from the 777 XI Racing driver. As further in front, Holmes and McNally may be fancying a bit of a battle. Holmes in the lead so far, but can he hold off? Because Adam McNally, he's going to be hunting this race victory. We know he can get them, but can he take it this time out? As we have 5 minutes to go in this second race, chasing him in the rearview mirror is that XI Esports car has been getting bigger and bigger lap after lap. When will the move be made, though? When can Adam McNally use his pace to his advantage? Is it going to be into this corner? No, it won't. The gap is too great to make up. Could try and focus on getting a good run out of the hairpin and challenging into the next real braking opportunity, or even biding his time and fancying a run into Sunset. These are all the questions that the drivers have to think, have to mull over in their minds. As I believe next time they come across the line, it could be the white flag. It might be close with the lap times, actually 2:24. I think they'll be able to get another couple out of it when they come across the line. So it won't be the final lap when they come to the line next time by. but it could be close.
I wonder that because it's going to play. Lee Holmes is going to want this to be the second to last lap, isn't he? Now, unfortunately, he's not in a position where he can hold it. He can hold Adam McNally up. They have got a 4-second gap, so they can afford to battle a little bit and lose some time. I think what Adam McNally's going to do, try and use this lap at least to get the slipstream up, down into sunset on the back of Lee Holmes, and then sit there and just sit behind until you get down. As long as you can stay with him until you go through pretty much a carbon copy and do the exact same thing a lot later, except this time, then you make the move. We have seen it as well. It's similar to what you would find at like Daytona or Le Mans, something like that. If you make a move too early at something like here with a very, very large slipstream, it costs you time and it will cost you position at the end because people will have a move a little bit later on. They'll just do the exact same thing you've just done to them. The gap is coming down. It's now 0.2 of a second. There is a little bit of a battle further down the field. Backs off though a little bit earlier. Again, just to try and get the car settled. Takes a slightly tighter line. Very tight line, actually. That's good. It allows him to get on the throttle a bit sooner, carry more exit speed, slow in, fast out. The age-old saying, but it does work. And you can see again on the timer channel on the left-hand side and the battle box in the bottom right. The gap is coming down. Is it going to be a move? Again, personally, I would wait. But Adam McNally, yes, again, he's definitely waiting. He's definitely waiting for that last corner. But the white flag has not been waved. So there are 2 more laps to go.
Yeah, 2 more laps for Adam McNally to try and take the lead of this race. Is in the background, Jason Cooper up into 4th place. Is he just about? No, not quite. Stimpson with the inside line is able to take back podium places. This is a great effort from the Pro-Am driver who is mixing it with the very best of the MX5 racers. Jason Cooper, last season's champion. What a drive this has been. Up 16, make that 17 if he can get this podium place nailed down and secured. Hard onto the brakes. You can see the stability of the car. It's so tricky sometimes with these cars when you're hard on the brakes for him to get a little bit of a wiggle on, but Jason Cooper doesn't have that whatsoever. Picks his point nicely and takes 3rd place, and now allows the rest to squabble it in behind, fight for the rest, because Simpson in a close fight with Delmont, able to just get through and almost hit the back of Jason Cooper, but judges it nicely, make sure there isn't contact. Delmont fancied the undercut, but just couldn't quite seem to get it to work, but we'll get the inside line for this next corner. Oh, and there's contact between the pair of them, and Stimpson's around. No!
Ooh. Big shame there for Liam Stimpson. That contact, again, just upset the balance of the car. The contact happened at the wrong moment, to be perfectly honest. I think if it happened either a little bit earlier or a little bit later through that corner, it probably wouldn't have been all that bad. It's just unfortunately where it was, as we had Liam Stimpson actually see him turning into the corner, that little bit of nudge just sent the weight round, actually like a pendulum. And it would have been very, very hard to catch, almost impossible to catch, regardless how quick you were on the wheel. The gap, though, Holmes and McNally have pulled 6 seconds around. Almost like Cooper and Decour pulled last time. But here comes McNally. This is the move. He tries to make up the inside. Lee Holmes needs to make a good cutback opportunity here. And instead, he's running around the outside, trying to carry that momentum and keep it on the outside. Gets squeezed off. Adam McNally blocks off the front. So this is the lap. This is the last lap. You can see the flag being waved. So now the gloves are off between these two. There's no more working together to pull the gap. The gap has been pulled out. They need to now utilize the gap that they've pulled to battle and to try and get that position sorted. We are seeing a little bit further down the field. There are battles as well. Casper de Court, Craig Cockrell and so on. So we've seen those battles.
I've just noticed as well, Jason Cooper down the order. What did we see? What happened to Jason? He was up in 3rd place, all of a sudden dropped all the way down outside the top 10. So something must have happened to the race 1 race victor. We're going to keep on this fight though between McNally and Holmes to try and figure out what happened post race, because this fight is too close to look away from. You can't tear your eyes away from this. Lee Holmes, Adam McNally battling together. Holmes tries to go for a move around the outside, can't get it to work. Gets a good exit though, and the drive is enough to get the advantage into the next corner, but he's going to have to go around the long way, around the outside, that will then become the inside, that will then again become the outside line into the next corner. So you can see McNally, he's going to go for it, send it down the inside, try and take the position back. This is for the race lead, but once more, Lee Holmes able to hold the outside line. This is cracking stuff. This is why we love this SR MX5 trophy because of the racing it provides. Lee Holmes is able to hold on for the moment, but runs a little bit wide, and all of a sudden, McNally's going to be right back on him into the final few braking corners before you come to sunset into the Le Mans section. Is McNally going to go for it? He looks to the inside, throws Holmes off his line, then goes back onto the more conventional line through Le Mans and has to pick the moment, get a good exit out of the final corner, which both of them do. So it's all down to the slipstream now. Lee Holmes and McNally, this is it for the race lead. Which way is Holmes fancying it? Sending McNally around the outside, or maybe trusting that he can hold the inside line? No, he's going to force McNally to go the long way around, wheel to wheel, hard on the brakes. Is McNally going to make it around the outside? No, he can't, but he'll then look for the better run down the inside on a cutback maneuver. Is it going to be enough? No, it won't. Lee Holmes powers out of the final corner to take the race victory. Great stuff from the 88 Tech driver there. Lee Holmes takes the race victory in stellar fashion, able to hold off McNally right at the death. And then we're going to have 3 wide, Calvin Dent, Stimson and Clibbins all together, and it is Stimson that's just ahead of Dent, who's just ahead of Clibbins. But that was some finish at the front between Lee Holmes and Adam McNally. The pair of them, they didn't give any quarter to one another, but in the end, it was Lee Holmes coming out on top. So the Pro-Am driver takes, I believe, his first race victory of the season with that race.
Fantastic stuff, isn't it? You can't complain with a race like that. Let's have a quick look at what happened to Jason Cooper, because as you say, he was running in P3 and then sort of wasn't. So I'm intrigued to see what happened. So coming now in, so that's the 777-2. So does he just get a bit of a tap from teammate? That's not good, is it? Manages to miraculously not actually receive any damage. It's just unfortunately having to wait for what seems like an eternity to then be able to get back on the power. So Jason Cooper still made up 10 positions, bear in mind, still stayed in P10. And actually, ironically, didn't finish. He only finished a couple of positions further down than Casper de Court, who finished in P8. He only finished with Andy McEwen in P9. So again, it's a shame. It is a shame. Who was it as well that had? So it's the number 5. So, that was Casper de Court. Oh dear. Ooh. Oh dear. Just a little bit of a nudge, and Jason Cooper turned in a fraction too late. Yeah. It's
a bit reminiscent, isn't it, Dan, of an incident that I think we saw happen on a Monday, wasn't it, between two very, very quick and capable drivers, but it just didn't work out in the end, unfortunately. But the wheel is being spun. It's a 25 reverse grid. But with as many drivers as there were involved in that big incident, we'll see who is on reverse grid pole position, Dan. I think you'll be able to talk us through exactly that, the finishing order from the second race of the evening.
Indeed. Let us have a look. Like the way you segued from that, from the thing you were talking about Monday. Like it. Very, very, very clever that was. Very clever that was. Here we go. So this is your finishing positions from the second race of this evening's round. So we do have Lee Holmes taking the race win by just over a tenth of a second on Adam McNally. A very, very well-defended drive from Lee Holmes there. Adam Delmont in the Excite Racing takes P3. Craig Cockrell P4 with Sam Smith rounding out the top 5. Douglas Stewart in P6. Julian Schrober 7th. Casper de Court P8 with Andy McEwen 9th. And Jason Cooper in P10 after that team contact on the second or third to last lap. Liam Simpson rounds out in P11 with Calvin Dent finishing in P12. Nick Clibbins 13th, Harley Moss 14th, Craig Schill in P15, Simon Robertson in 16th, Duncan Cope 17th, and then Frank Vester in P18. A little bit further down the field, Luke Cooper finishing a lap down, so does Dave Chapman. And then down from that, we've got James Clark, Brian Stewart, Andy Thompson, Fiona Siddons, Michael Seal, Shane Piggott, Renato Campana, and Glenn Humberstone going down to P28. But finishing 2 laps down due to the incident that we had a little bit earlier on that involved and started with, well, it involved half the field, but it started with Shane Piggott and Mark Oliver having a small coming together. It's amazing, isn't it, how it can escalate so very quickly with what seems to be just a small little tap and a spin can turn into almost half the field losing positions.
Yeah, it is. I want to see if maybe we can have another little look at that and just see, maybe from other cars that were able to get through. I know Andy McEwen had a great view of all of that in front of himself, as well as I believe Jason Cooper was able to find his way through all of that drama. So it might be good to have an onboard view of all the incident happening in front and just seeing what it was like for a driver just to come through and see all of that unfold.
So securing Andy McEwen's point of view, and unfortunately Andy McEwen did get tangled in it.
That's the 88 we're on board with.
Oh yes, apologies. That was that's the wrong car I'm looking at. That was Glenn Thomas. Let's have a look at Andy McEwen. Here we go. This is Andy McEwen trying to get through. So he has a bit of a nudge anyway. I think gets involved in his own little incident, and then it's just sort of pray and hope for the best, really, I think, at this point. You can see the incident happening there. He reacts at this moment, and it's just absolute carnage. I mean, I sort of avoided as well as he could, really, I think, to be fair. And you can see as well, this is one of the key things that we talk about when in terms of vision. Now, especially when you do coaching or anything like that, vision is such an important piece of your coaching side because it means so much, because you're able to see things like this earlier. You saw how quickly Andy McEwen reacted to it. Good vision. He was looking ahead and straight away was able to decide which way to go. It's obviously all changing, but at the same time, you can still see so much further. Rather than looking just at the end of your bonnet, try and look 2 to 3 seconds ahead of where you are currently on circuit, of where you want to be, and you'll be able to see those things much, much quicker.
And on the flip side of that vision thing, if we can go to another replay and just see, I want to have a look on board with Sean Campbell, because you can see what it's like if you have no time to react. Because I remember seeing the outboard shots, he was just totally blindsided by it. So hopefully we can get a replay from the perspective of Sean Campbell. I know we're asking a lot from you commentating and broadcasting, but here we go. This is on board with the 88 car again. So this is, here we go. He just has nowhere to go. You can see that the car of Shane Piggott just gets catapulted across the road into no time to react. And unfortunately, there's definite damage and he's having to fight the car through. So it just shows, doesn't it, that if you can react, you are able to just get away with it. But when you are in that position, unfortunately, you are just a sitting duck.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, they do say as well, if an accident happens like that in front of you, the best thing to do is try and drive straight. Just continue driving. Don't try and adjust, because that's when accidents happen. Unfortunately, that just was not the case for Sean Campbell. It doesn't work all the time, unfortunately. But we are going to take a few minutes break while we get everything ready for race number 3. We're halfway through the evening. 2 more races to go, and then we will see who comes out recently on top. But it was a very, very strong performance from Lee Holmes. A very large, or a fairly sizable reverse grid. So Lee Holmes has definitely got his work cut out for him. But ultimately, with that sort of pace that he had straight away from race 2, we should see some good finishing positions from Lee Holmes in race 3. But make sure you don't go anywhere. Stick around. We'll be back soon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Absolute Sim Racing here for the third race of the evening at Sebring. We saw a great race, didn't we, that had Lee Holmes take his first race victory of the season. But with a 25 reverse grid, the order has been shaken up once more, and we will have, I believe, if he's in the server, that's the main question, is if he's also starting from the front. I don't actually know if he is or not. Yes, he is. Dave Chapman. He should be starting from pole position. Last time he was on the front row, of course, but obviously he served a penalty and meant that he started from the pit lane. So if there is that question mark over him again, maybe he won't be coming out on top. But you will have to say he is definitely a favourite to take his first race victory should he start from that P1 spot.
Certainly so. Again, only time will tell here. We're just about to go into the race. Again, it's just too close to call. We really don't know. And look at what we saw last race. You know, we saw a very, very unusual. I don't think I've ever seen that in any form of like sim racing. I know there are some big crashes in sim racing, but that was exceptionally big for sim racing here. So we are going to run you through the grid in a few moments time. In fact, here is the grid coming up for you now. So here is Dave Chapman taking pole position, and then we've got Luke Cooper. We have to run through these pretty quickly. Frank Vestner, Duncan Cope, Simon Robson, Craig Schill. We've then got Harley Moss, Nick Clibbins, Calvin Dent, Liam Simpson, Jason Cooper, Andy McEwen, Casper DeCourt, Julian Schroer, Douglas Stewart, Sam Smith, Craig Cockrell 17th, Adam Delmont 18th, Adam McNally 19th, and Lee Holmes in P20. James Clark 21st, Brian Stewart 22nd, Andy Thompson 23rd, Fiona Siddons in P24. We have Michael Seal P25, Shane Pickett 26th, Renato Campana 27th, Glenn Humberstone 28th, Ashley Stimpson 29th, and Lars Fisher in P30, with Mark Oliver and Sean Campbell in P31, P32, and then Craig McDonald in P33. And you know what? I think we're about to go, do you know? Not too far off. Actually, it's already gone. We've already gone green here at for race number 3. It's looking like a pretty good start for Dave Chapman. Also a very good start for Luke Cooper as well. They all come through down into turn 1. We've got Frank Vestner that's hassling the back. They go 3 wide going into turn 1. Oh, that's not going to work. No, it's gone wrong already. Dave Chapman unfortunately gets tangled straight up in an instant. Not good at all. So that's him done and dusted, as well as Luke Cooper. Not what you want to see on lap 1, turn 1 of race number 3. But it is all concentrating up now, going down into turn 4. Harley Moss having a very good run currently as it stands in P3 in the AM category, trying to go around the outside. Trying to stick it on the inside. Currently about, oh, that's a spin as well. Who was that? Was that Duncan Cope? I think it was. Duncan Cope's had a spin. That's opened the gap up that you can see there. So at the moment, Frank Vestner and Nick Clibbins, they're sort of sailing away with it at the moment. There's more spins going on. Oh my goodness, it's all going wrong. Lee Holmes, the race winner from last race, has had a spin. He's dropped down the field as well. But again, now concentrating up once again, going down into the hairpin for the first time. There's some more contact happening. Couldn't quite hear who that was, but there was definitely some contact. Still, everyone else by the looks of it, as it stands, currently still manages to work their way through. Brian Stewart, Glenn Humberstone going side by side down into the second half of the lap now. Tight right-hander this whole right-left-right complex. Very, very tricky. Got to be precise, especially on cold tyres. Someone decides they want to take a wet line.
Completely off the track there.
Yep, Craig McDonald takes a wet line going through down into that complex. Not ideal, especially again on cold tyres. That's where it catches you out. Ed was talking about this last race as well. If on the brakes the car gets a bit squirrely, and especially if that then carries away with you, cold tyres mixture doesn't work at all. So that is currently how they stand at the moment. So we do have, although I think of that, look at that, Michael Seal trying to get involved as well. Gunnar Humberstone's pulled about half a second of a gap at this moment in time. Michael Seal really having a look, getting squeezed a little bit there by Brian Stewart. Nothing major, though, at this moment in time. But, whoa, Brian Stewart, what a save. That was the save of the race. That's the save of the evening, to be fair. Nothing's going to top that. Wowzer, that was very, very close indeed. Unfortunately, that has meant that Brian Stewart's lost several positions, although I think it could have been worse.
Than the alternative, yeah. Better to lose a few places than to lose control of your car and hit the wall and be completely out of the running. Looking, though, throughout the rest of the field, Jason Cooper is up into third place. He's definitely a favourite to take his second race victory of the evening now, with Frank Rester and Nick Clibbins up in front, needing to do absolutely otherworldly job to keep a driver like Jason behind for much longer. But I want to see, maybe at some stage, once the action has come down, if it ever does, about what happened into that first corner, because Dave Chapman just can never catch a break, as we see, a moment there, one of the SimTech racing cars, I think that is Liam Stimson off the road. Oh my word, it was all kicking off, and it still is into the first corner, as we see Shane Piggott trying to find a way past Fisher, but not for the moment, as to stay behind. Tell you what, it's all been going on, hasn't it? There's been so much action in these opening few stages, as we now watch Jason Cooper, and he
managed to get to the lead.
Rather handily gotten into the lead of the race. Can Nick Clibbins and Vesta stay with him, though? Let's have a look at the replay to see how he did it. This was on the brakes, down the inside into the hairpin. It wasn't necessarily the easiest overtake, but the thing about Jason Cooper is that he made it look easy, which is a very scary thing for everyone who wants to try and challenge him for the championship this season, just because of how good he is most of the time on these reverse go races.
Yeah, certainly so. Just looking at it, unfortunately, you've just got a little bit quiet. I'm not sure if something happened with your mic there. You just sort of like dipped in volume a little bit there, but hopefully we'll get you back at full volume in a few moments. A little bit further down, Holly Moss still doing a very, very stellar job at the moment, leading the AM category in race number 3. Nearly 5 minutes have gone. We've still got battling up and down the field. One of the ones as well, Lars Fisher, Glenn Humberstone are pretty close indeed to one another. So Lars Fisher tried it. Whoa, that was close. Wowzers, Glenn Humberstone. If he watches that back on the replay, he's going to need new. It's definitely going to be twitching in there. Shane Piggott wants to have a bit of a look. Can't quite make anything stick though, but he manages to back off, allow both Glenn Humberstone and Lars Fisher to have to sort of battle a little bit going through the second to last corner. Then capitalise on that opportunity, gets a better and a cleaner run going on the exit. So the number 127 Shepard Motorsport BSR car tries to go. I think he's going to get Glenn Humberstone. Yes, he is. At this moment in time, you can just see in the rearview mirror that Glenn Humberstone is still there. Manages to go a little bit deep onto the brakes. If anything, maybe a little bit too deep. Is Glenn Humberstone going to try and make a move back? No, but I tell you, someone who is going to try, and that's going to be Lee Holmes. He's going to go side by side along with his teammate, and they're going to go down into the first corner side by side. Who is going to come out on top? I think at the moment it is Glenn Humberstone that still is ahead. So Lee Holmes has to back out of it and allow Glenn Humberstone to take the position at this moment in time. But he's got a good run going down into turn 3. A very good run going down into turn 3. Last of the late breakers, and that is Lee Holmes for that particular moment. And there we go. Move done and dusted. A little bit further down though, Renato Campana makes a move on Duncan Cope. And that is the move. Actually, sorry, no, apologies. It was Mark Oliver that was making a move on Renato Campana. But Campana trying to make a move straight back, and Duncan Cope's going to have a bit of a look in as well.
Yeah, so we're going to follow Mark Oliver, who's going to... I was taken a little bit by Campana, but we're going to go back now to Sean Campbell, who's having to charge up through the field following disappointment in the second race. But that is turning into elation with this race so far, up 21 places into 11th place. Sean Campbell has been a very exciting driver at this early stage of the championship, adapting nicely to SIM3D BSR MX5 trophy, and could be a very strong competitor late on in the season as well. That's often what we see as drivers in their first few rounds a little bit shaky, but get quicker and quicker as the season goes on. But Sean Campbell has taken like this to like a duck to water, hasn't he? Brilliant stuff so far, but can he keep this up? Can he make a few more places up, get inside that top 10 and score some very strong points?
Certainly can, but again, there's a long way to go. 6 minutes and 50 seconds have gone, and we've just got, the best part of 9 minutes left to go. Michael Seal and, whoa, that's James Clark going side by side. I tell you what, Michael Seal's got the jump initially, but I think, and you know what, James Clark can have a very, very good run. Again, just allowed the position to happen, allowed the move allowed Michael Seal to make the move, and then just got the cutback, and we can see now that this is where it helps. The drive that James Clark has got much, much better than Michael Seal's, although not making the move as quickly as I thought, if at all, because Michael Seal manages to take a very, very defensive line. And I wonder, we're going to see exactly the same again. James Clark makes the cutback. You can see the time now on the Delta comes crashing down. It was 0.4 of a second. It's now 0.2 of a second. But we do have as well Lars Fisher, Shane Piggott, Lee Holmes just behind, though. We know how quick that those three can be. But again, as long as they work together, they might be able to catch up to the back of James Clark, and then it will be, instead of a two-way battle for P13, it will be a five-way battle for P13. That's amazing how quickly it can all change. I tell you what, Lars Fisher's already got onto the back of James Clark, so I wonder if this battle is going to happen sooner than we think. Julian Schroer makes a position onto Craig Cockrell. So that is Team Gonzo number 1, the 444, making a move up into P8 overall. He's got 2 seconds up the road to Andy McEwen. So realistically, that's going to be a position he's going to have to defend for the remainder of the race. And yes, there is some significant battling going on up ahead. We will have to wait and see. Everything comes back in, though. Do you know what? Craig Cockrell's going to try and go around the outside of the hairpin. Never going to work in a million. Actually, do you know what? He's proved me wrong. It's, in fact, worked absolutely a treat. So Craig Cockrell currently hasn't quite got track position because he's going to be left hung out to dry on the outside as long as he's got the drive, though. It seems that he has. Look at that. Craig Cockrell, fair play. Round the outside of the hairpin. Can't argue with that.
Yeah, that is a great overtake from Craig Cockrell. Just ahead of Julian Shaw around the outside. What a move, and was able to get it signed, sealed and delivered at the next proper braking opportunity. But oh my word, a huge over sort of exaggeration or over sort of misjudgment, I think is the word I was looking for, from Julian Schroer into the back. And what was once a great move has now got a bit of a sore taste in the mouth after that, as Craig Cockrell now down and out of that fight for the moment. But then look at this huge pack of cars trying to find a way through. Look at that shot. They just about managed to sort each other out. There's still 2 wide moments though, as and on the exit there's a huge checkup. Michael Seal has to massively back out of that, but recovers the car nicely. Gonna go on board with Lars Fisher, who's gotten ahead of Schroer. Can he get ahead of Thompson? Maybe not. No, Thompson covers him off, so that means Lars then goes to the inside. Could be a great move into the top 10 if Lars can get it to stick. Gets the inside line. Does he power out good enough? You know what I think he might do, as we hear a little bit of contact, a little bit of door banging, but they seem to have all gotten through Sunset nice and cleanly. 10 minutes on the clock now, 5 still to go. Jason Cooper has been doing a very strong performance out in front as well, building the margin over Jason Cooper while all of this action is going on behind him. Lars Fisher, teammate, of course, of Jason, now inside the top 10. As we come now to watch Lee Holmes and Piggott battle together. Piggott with the inside line, able to defend for the moment, but then the track goes right and then left once more. Piggott can hold on to 14th place and get a little bit of slipstreaming assistance all the way down into the hairpin from James Clark. But look at how close Holmes is. Outside, inside, which way is the 88 Tech driver commencing a move down to the inside, covered off but not enough by Shane Piggott. There's always a bit of a lunge there. Clark on Schroer, a little bit of wheel spin on the exit, but Clark has been able to take that. Great stuff.
That was a good move. That was a very good move. Well, I mean, to be fair, whether that was an intentional, but it maybe it's just sort of a minor sort of late break. It's amazing how much a small sort of break in just a fraction later, maybe half a car length, can really have an effect. I think, to be fair as well, it really shows the level of competitiveness that we're seeing in these drivers as well. Very close still between Second Piggott and Lee Holmes. I wonder what's going to come out of it, though, because Lee Holmes is going to have to back out at this moment. Again, he does. You can see really riding the brakes is Shane Piggott on the rear. You can see them glowing as well. So driving this car very hard indeed. Craig Cockrell has just made up a move on Glenn Humberstone that we can see. You just saw on the timing tower on the left-hand side. He has then got a 4-second gap between himself and Michael Seal. But we see that Glenn Humberstone trying to make the move straight back. And you know what? I think he's going to go and do it. We do have, though, Cockrell on the inside. He's going to be on the outside and then back on the inside. But is he going to be able to do it? I tell you, the person to watch out for, though, Douglas Stewart, because he's going to have a very good run on both of them. Exactly as we said. Look at that. They both held each other up, Craig Cockrell and Glenn Humberstone. I think the person that's going to come out on top of everyone here comes Douglas Stewart. He's got past both of them, is now on the inside. But I think Brian Stewart's going to have a bit of a look as well. Actually, no, sorry, not yeah, Brian Stewart is going to have a bit of a look up the inside as well. Can't quite do it. Douglas Stewart has just gone, thanks guys, you crack on, and I'm going to pull away up ahead. Although Craig Cockrell has other ideas on that, and now slots straight back up into P17, which is where he started this race number 3.
Yeah, so good stuff, isn't it, all the way through? But look at this. I'm just absolutely blown away by the quality of racing we've got. Glenn Humberston around the outside in the 88 Tech car on Douglas Stewart, and then trying as well to get ahead of Craig Cockrell. Stewart and Cope battling together, but Stewart with the inside line is able to hold on for the time being. Fancying a bit of involvement in the fight as well. Another Stewart gets involved. Look at how close they are. Douglas Stewart, Brian Stewart, but for the moment it is Douglas up in front. Adam Delmont, though, at third place. This will be another good, strong finish if he's able to hold on to it. But Casper de Court is right up behind him. Can Casper crack into the top three for the second time this evening? He's definitely hungry for it, you know. He could be a really good shout. But Adam Delmont making up 15 places in this race has got to be a very strong contender for driver of the day, driver of the round, because I don't think he's really had a bad race.
No, I think realistically he's had some very, very good races and some consistent races as well. Casper de Court hassling the back of Adam Delmont, though, to be fair. And he's only got to hassle him. Realistically, there is going to be 2 more laps. We've got 1 more lap to go. Actually, no, apologies. This will be the next lap. It will be the last lap. And we've got Jason Cooper. Now, the gap between Jason Cooper and Nick Clibbins is 1.1 seconds. And then the gap from Nick Clibbins down to Adam Delmont is 1.5. And that's most probably going to extend because Casper de Court, he's not making the middle. He's biding his time. Again, he's waiting. He's waiting for this last lap. And he's waiting to do exactly the same. So as long as he can stay with him, okay, I'm going to put my money on this, that is going to be pretty much what Casper de Court did. He's just going to try and sit behind as close as he can, and then down into the final corner, he's going to try and use the slipstream, pull up the inside, and take the defensive line. That's what I'm going to presume. There's going to be no moves up until that point.
Yeah, so we're going to see if your prediction is correct. Well, all this is going, Adam Delmont has caught up to Nick Clibbins just the touch, so that could be something to keep an eye on, a watchful eye on, as we see Sam Smith around the outside. Is he able to get through on Glenn Humberston? Glenn taking a nice tight line, then covers it off nicely on the exit. No way through for the moment, as we see the 79 Douglas Stewart also backing out of a little move. Waiting in the wings, of course, is Duncan Cope ready if anything should happen. He'll happily take up that spot as running wide. That was Craig Cockrell just up in front.
Craig Cockrell running a little bit wide, but meanwhile, again, a little bit further up the field, you got Harley Moss and then Sean Campbell having a bit of a battle as well. Look at the gap. What you were just saying there as well, it's just tweeted with me as well. The gap between Delmont and Clemens is now down to under a second. I mean, again, that's a hell of a lot of time to make up, but it's not out of the realms of possibility. Sean Campbell and Harley Moss still having a good old tussle, but Sean Campbell's got the outside. It means he's going to have the inside for the next left. But I think he's already got ahead. Job done. That is the move done and dusted. So Sean Campbell goes up into P7. Again, Harley Moss, fantastic racing from him. I really, really think that a Pro-Am is going to be almost inevitable for him. He's got some incredible pace, really good racecraft as well. I think he can really develop on it by moving up and jumping into the Pro-Am field. But again, we'll have to see what they decide going into next round, if they make that decision at all. Up the front, though, again, coming down into the final complex is Nick Clibbins. The gap is 0.6 of a second between Clibbins and Delmont. It's coming down pretty aggressively, but here we go. Casper de Court. Is this going to be the move? Exactly what? I'm putting my money here. Come on, Casper. You know what you need to do. There we go. That's it. I'll take that. Thank you very much. So Casper de Court goes on the inside, getting squeezed a little bit. Meanwhile, Jason Cooper is about 2 seconds up the road. He's going to take the race win, but what's going to happen down here? Casper de Court and Adam Delmont are going to go side by side. It's going to be Adam Delmont that's going to take it, I believe, just by 1/10 of a second. Yes, he does. So Nick Clemens P2, Adam Delmont in third place. Wowzers, that was close, but it's still close quite down here as well because Andy Thompson has got past as well Harley Moss. So unfortunately, Harley Moss just loses out on another position. And that battle there could have been anyone. Sean Campbell, I think, passed at the right opportunity there.
Yeah, Sean Campbell again going for a drift through the first corner, celebrating a great drive up through the field. 25 places in the end gained by Sean Campbell, I'm seeing. So What a drive that was.
Whoa!
And look at that across the line, 4 abreast. Oh my word, that was
like NASCAR
very,
style.
very close. That was, yeah, absolutely immense driving. Wow, I want to see a replay of that because that was brilliant.
That was indeed. Before we do jump to that replay, let us get the spinning wheel all sorted, ready for the final race. So here we go. And what is it going to be? It's a top 13, not the largest we have seen. So I believe... Oh, that rhymes. So I believe what that's going to do, that's going to put Shane Piggott on pole position for the last race. Again, we're going to get confirmation for that from you in a few moments' time. But yeah, let's have a quick look at that, because that was very, very close at the end there. I really do want to watch that again, absolutely. So, really, let's not have a look at with the spinning wheel up in front of us, but instead... let's have a look at what happened here. So, I mean, at the moment, who was at the front that had a poor... I couldn't quite see who that was. Someone had a very, very poor run. The number 79. So that was Douglas Stewart had a very, very slow run. I mean, that there, wow. In the end, I think it was Mark Oliver that came out on top of all that.
Yeah, Mark Oliver. Then it was Douglas Stewart. Then it was Ashley Stimpson in the number 3. And then Renato Campana in the middle. But that was such a close finish to the race. There you go. Confirmation then that Jason Cooper takes his second race victory of the evening. Ahead of Nick Clibbins, Adam Delmont, Casper de Court, Frank Vestner, Andrew McEwen, Sean Campbell, Andy Thompson, Harley Moss takes his first AM victory. Hopefully we'll be able to have a word with him after race. I can see drivers lining up for an interview, so we'll run through this quickly. James Clark, Lee Holmes, Michael Seal, Shane Piggott, Julian Schreier, Lars Fisher, Greg Cockrell, Sam Smith, Duncan Cope there in 18th place. Obviously with the 13th, that does confirm though Shane Piggott on reverse grid pole position. So good stuff from Shane there, but we'll go to the next page of race results. I'll hopefully talk you through 19th place. Glenn Humberston, Liam Stimpson, Mark Oliver, Ashley Stimpson, Douglas Stewart, Renato Campana, Fiona Siddons, Simon Robson, Brian Stewart, and the first of the non-finishers of the third race, Adam McNally, along with, I think, a few more names as well. Yep, Calvin Dent, Craig McDonald, Luke Cooper, Dave Chapman, and Craig Schill, unfortunately, out of the race. And Luke Cooper and Dave Chapman, they just really can't catch a break so far this evening, involved in several incidents. It's not really through their own doing. But on a brighter note, we do have a chance to speak to some of the drivers after that race. And let's have a word, shall we? And with a driver who's taken 2 AM Class victories this evening, joins us in the comments box, Harley Moss. Good to see you. That was a good race from you.
Yeah, I mean, a bit unfortunate that last corner there, getting swamped a little bit. Just couldn't tuck in behind whoever it was that was ahead of me, and the car alongside managed to just get pulled along effectively.
Still though, it's been a great evening for you so far, hasn't it? 2 AM Class victories. And did you get second or was it third in the first race? I
think it was third. So far I think it's been third from back of the grid, win from pit lane, and then obviously a win from P7 in the third race. Yeah,
and of course me and Dan have been admiring your progress up through the field, your progress as an AM driver from the start of the season. We're thinking you might be getting moved up into the Pro-Am class. Is that something you might be looking forward to getting involved with, perhaps?
I mean, maybe next season. I'm hoping it doesn't come this season, just because of how well we're running. How well I'm running for the team in AM, putting the results in every week for us, getting the points on the board. Kind of just, I wanted to be able to focus on that AM championship now that we are sort of establishing ourselves as one of the faster drivers in the class. I want to just focus on that. I don't want to be talking about, am I going to be moving up to Pro-Am, am I staying? I just want to focus each week on the race that is ahead of me.
Okay, so looking at the bigger picture, looking at the championship itself and hoping to go for a charge, you definitely look like one of the class acts of the AM class field, and just talk us through that second race, and well, to be fair, the third as well, racing up through the field with some very quick drivers.
I mean, I think race 2 was, if I'm honest, just a lot of luck and just getting through that massive wreck that happened. I would not have been halfway up the grid if I hadn't have managed to get through and avoided the wreck like I did. Yeah, the entire evening's come down to luck. I've really not put much practice into tonight's track because I've been busy with a couple of other leagues and doing just stuff outside of racing. And sort of come in tonight, jumped in the practice session this evening when it had come up and just done a few laps there. Wasn't really expecting anything. I've come away with my highest finish of the season so far, so I'm absolutely buzzing, to be honest.
You could finish even higher though with a 13 reverse grid. You'll be starting in 5th place. What is your hopes for the 4th and final race here at Sebring?
If I'm honest with you, I just want to get to the end of it and finish all 4 races in 1 week. Because the last 2 weeks haven't been quite so great. I've either wrecked out or been caught up in an incident and just not managed to finish one of the 4 races. So I'm just focusing on getting points on the board every single race tonight. Even if it means finishing P20 in one of the races, points is what matters to me. Wins, no. Obviously, I love winning, everyone does, but points is what's mattering at the moment.
Definitely. Well, we'll be able to see if you can get those points across the board right at the end there. But best of luck to you, Harley, for the 4th and final race.
And thank you.
Quickly, before we say goodbye to you, actually, just remembered, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to here on Absolute Sim Racing?
Yeah, so Evicted Esports, they're powering the sequential sim sport team. We've sort of joined up within the last month and a half, 2 months at most. They actually paid for my entry to the league this year, or this season, should I say. So massive shout out to them. And then just all the sponsors on the side of the car. Hopefully there's been a bit of screen time for them this week. I know the last couple of weeks probably a bit less where I've been running down the order. But this week where I've been a bit higher up, hopefully they're getting the screen time they all deserve for supporting us as well.
No problem. Thank you very much, Harley. Best of luck for the 4th race.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
And with that, Harley also will exit the comms box, and I think it's time for us to go for a short break and get back with all of the action very shortly on Absolute Sim Racing, because there's a 4th and final race, 13 reverse grid. That was the Shane Biggett from pole position. You do not want to miss this. Stay tuned to Absolute Sim Racing. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Absolute Sim Racing. And we are in for a treat. You can see the cars out on the circuit. They are going to go to the grid in a minute's time for the fourth and final race of the evening. And what an evening it has been. We've had some excellent racing. We've had some drama as well, haven't we? Our fair share of BSR action has been provided in the first three races. But with the fourth on the horizon, Dan, I cannot wait.
Me neither, as you say. It's been an interesting race, to say the least. An interesting bit of race, to say the least. But we have seen some fantastic battles, some very clean battles. Some not so clean overtakes, some not so clean moves. But ultimately, that is part and parcel of racing. It is to be expected, especially when you got upwards of 35 cars on the grid. We are going to bring you the grid order for the final race in a few moments. We are going to have to run through it very quickly, as per usual. We only have about a minute from when it loads up to when we are able to, from when the green light goes. Possibly even sooner. We will have to see. Right, here it comes. And then we'll be able to give you the grid. So, as it stands currently, we do have Shane Piggott, Michael Seal, Lee Holmes, James Clark, Harley Moss, Andy Thompson, Sean Campbell, Andy McEwen, Frank Vestner, and Casper DeCourt round out your top 10. Frank Vestner, Adam Delmont, Nick Clibbens, Jason Cooper, Julian Schroer, Lars Fisher, Craig Cockrell, Sam Smith, Glenn Humberstone, Liam Simpson, Mark Oliver, Ashley Stimpson, Douglas Stewart is up to P22, and then Renato Campana, P23, Fiona Siddons, Simon Robson, Brian Stewart, Adam McNally, Calvin Dent, Craig McDonald, Luke Cooper, David Chapman, and Craig Schill are your top are your entire grid for the final race. And it's going to be a big one.
It is indeed, because on the grid, Shane Piggott from pole position, Michael Seal alongside him, notable absentee as well, though Ben Sharp not making it this evening. I thought we'd touch on that because he was involved in racing, involved in an accident, but still came through in the end to come P3. So I think he's just taking a bit of time out to get the car working again, as we see Shane Piggott off of the line. Great stuff from Shane. Michael Seal will be hoping to get up to the front and give the Ben Sharp Racing team something to smile about after incident at the weekend. Of course, Ben Sharp is all right. Figure I'll get that out of the way first and foremost, as we see the cars now into turn one. Moss up into fourth. Good start from Harley Moss, the driver we were just talking to in the interview before we went to our break. Down the inside, Michael Seal holding off Lee Holmes for the moment. Shane Piggott still leads the rest, though. Is this a little bit of contact off? And who's that off of the circuit? One of the five-star motorsport cars. Sean Campbell's off on the near side. Who is that off on the other side? Casper DeCourt, apparently, according to you, Dan, is off. What happened there? Was there just a bit of contact, do you think, between him and someone else just around the outside?
Yeah, it looked to be, again, just two cars couldn't fit into, too many cars trying to fit into one space, and that was why. Up ahead, though, Michael Seal is having a good old scrap with Lee Holmes as it currently stands. And you know what? I think that there was a position, there was indeed a position made there. So Michael Seal makes up that position. A little bit further up the field, though. Andy McEwen trying to go up the inside of Harley Moss, but Harley Moss decides against it, runs around the outside, locks the brakes up, though. Interesting with the car with ABS, really trying to push the car a little bit too hard, and that's what we have there. So initially regained the position, but then had to come back, unfortunately. Michael Seal, though, tried to have a bit of a move up the inside of Shane Piggott, but again, couldn't quite make it stick. So Shane Piggott currently led the first two-thirds of this lap. But for how much longer? Because Michael Seal looking very, very aggressive in the early stages of the race. Nick Clemens and Andy Thompson going to go side by side, coming down now into... Whoa, that was someone that had a big moment there. Was that Liam Simpson? I think it was, for the Simtech Racing Pro-Am car. So that was a very, very sideways moment. Again, cold tyres, but manages to kip the foot in. So great stuff indeed. A little bit wide, though, for Nick Clemens. That's cost him, and Andy Thompson's just gone through. What's that? Number 9, Craig Cockrell, has had a big, big moment. That's cost him dearly. Doesn't look like he got too much damage, all that, to be perfectly honest, but at the same time, it has cost him in several positions. Calvin Dent's making a move up the inside as well of Liam Stimpson, but Nick Clibbens currently trying to fend off Andy Thompson, Craig McDonald, who had a very, very large slide going into sunset, and again, that has cost him a little bit of time, but battling up and down the field as we are used to seeing in the BSR MX5 trophy.
Look at Harley Moss trying to keep Fisher at bay, but isn't able to do so. As Fisher with a great cutback is going to have a run into next corner and fancy a move, get through. Yes, he does. Good stuff by Fisher there to get that position made. And oh, Craig McDonald's are just about to highlight him as having a great race, but unfortunately gets caught up, tangled together with Calvin Dent and Vestner. And unfortunately for Vestner, at least, comes out worse along with Calvin Dent.
I think realistically that was a bit of netcode, and the fact that it almost like glitched in, not ideal. Up the front though, Michael Seal has got past Shane Piggott. So Shane Piggott drops down to P2 after the first lap. Lee Holmes looking very, very aggressive at the moment. Andy McEwen is looking to take a possible race victory here. He's got a good run going down onto Lee Holmes. Again, we'll have to see if he can capitalise that into a position gain. He will be on the inside, late braking. Oh, Lee Holmes taps the back of Shane Piggott. That's cost him, to be fair, it's actually cost Lee Holmes more than it's cost Shane Piggott. Shane Piggott slots back into P2, but it has ultimately meant that Michael Seal's got a half a second gap. Andy McEwen tries to go on the outside. Lee Holmes tries to go up the inside. No, can't quite make it stick. That's going to leave the door open possibly for Jason Cooper for the 5-star Motorsport number 1, because he's coming through, and do you know what? I think he's going to make the position stick. Andy McEwen though round the outside of Shane Piggott. He will be on the inside for the next right-hander. Prime opportunity here. As long as he can carry the speed through and drift out wide and cut Shane Piggott off, then that will be the position gain. Doesn't quite manage it. There was a little bit of gap there, so he probably could have done, but ultimately decided against it. Although he hasn't got an optimal run. Shane Piggott's got a much better run than he has. Ultimately, though, he will have a bit of a toe off of Michael Seal, whereas Shane Piggott won't because he's on the outside. So it's going to be a drag race down on lap number 2, coming into Sunset Corner. And you can see Jason Cooper there trying to make a move on Lee Holmes. Is it going to be a move on Lee Holmes? I don't think it's going to have to be very, very aggressive, but there goes Jason Cooper up the inside. Is he going to run a bit wide? No, he doesn't. Manages to keep it controlled on the brakes and make the move stick. Might even have a go at Andy McEwen there if he can get a good run.
Yeah, Andy McEwen is doing great, though, bouncing back from the disappointment in the first race where he didn't score points, but now has come back into the podium places, battling with Shane Piggott for second place down the inside into turn 1 and takes that position. Great stuff from Andy McEwen, but Shane Piggott will fight him back on the exit. A little bit of a touch. Has that slowed down Shane? No, that hasn't. They're going to still fight side by side. McEwen has to concede the position, but he's got the fight, he's got the hunger. You can see how he drives. He wants to take back P2, and Michael Seal up at the front will be really, really excited to see these drivers all battling behind him, giving him a nice manageable cushion of almost 9/10 of a second. Andy McEwen is going to go for another move, this time around the outside line. Shane Piggott defending, but can he defend well enough? We've already seen moves being made around the outside into the hairpin, on board with Jason Cooper to get a good view of this. Andy McEwen tries to go for the switchback, doesn't quite get it to work, but instead actually uses it to cover off Jason Cooper. And now they come along this flat out section and then into a braking zone for the right-hander that you can see Andy McEwen gets a slight wiggle on the brakes, but gets a good drive out of the corner. Better than Jason Cooper, better than Shane Piggott, but the track just doesn't open up for a move just yet. Has to slot in behind. All the while, Shane Piggott is getting slipstream assistance from Michael Seal and closing that gap back up. McEwen now is closer than ever, goes to the inside, but that becomes the outside through these sweeping left-handers. Can fancy a move, though. We saw this the lap before, didn't we? The pair of them going too wide. McEwen sends it down the inside, manages to also cover off a charge from Shane Piggott and gets second place, but can he hold on to it? Gets a good exit out of the corner, gets some slipstream off of Michael Seal. Is it going to be enough to stay in front, though? That is the real question. Jason Cooper is going to fancy a move, though, on Shane. As what on earth has happened there? Lee Holmes out of the race, as well as, I think that was James Clark.
That was indeed James Clark. Sanamo, what happened here? Is it just a little bit too... Is it a bit of a touch? There was a touch and sent round. Tap. Oh, and it just went wrong. The number 107 getting involved there as well.
Hold the brakes. Does Lee Holmes hold the brakes? Because he goes back. I mean, the contact happens off the circuit, but still.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because, yes, absolutely, you always need to hold the brakes. Absolutely, you need to hold the brakes. That is rule number one, especially if you spin. You've got to hold the brakes, trying to keep yourself as predictable as possible. In the meantime, Jason Cooper, again, has just miraculously teleported down into the lead. We're going to see if we can possibly find a replay of that, but now it's between himself and Michael Seals, half a second gap. Adam Delmont sends it up the inside of Shane Piggott. Oh, what a move. Can Shane Piggott make it? Trying to try and make the move back. I don't think so. He's a bit too far back to make a lunge going into... Well, if he makes a lunge, you have to be a very, very brave one. But I don't think he's going to have the run. No, it's stagnating at 0.3 of a second, the gap between those two. Michael Seal has already been taken... Jason Cooper's already pulled 0.3 on Michael Seal, currently in the space of about 3 corners. At the rate he's going, Jason Cooper will pull about 4 seconds by the end of this race. So he's looking very, very aggressive. Can he make it a third? I wonder. Apologies, James Clark is not currently in the lead. I'm not too sure why that has happened. But Jason Cooper up the inside of Michael Seal. Not much defending, although, from Michael Seal. He tries to give it a little bit of a defensive manoeuvre. But at the same time, I think probably in Michael Seal's case, I wonder if he can just let him by and see if the top 3 can pull away a little bit, or even just stay there, utilise the slipstream. Jason Cooper with a slightly later turning. That has cost him some time, though. It's cost him a little bit of time. Not too much, but it's enough. So we might see Michael Seal. He won't make a move here. Instead, he'll make a move going into Sunset Corner. That seems to be the prime overtaken opportunity, and it would make sense because that's where you get the most slipstream.
Michael Seal there, like you say, dropping down into 3rd place. Or 2nd place actually on the road is James Clark, I think, towed into the pit, which is why he's saying that he's up at the front. Andy McEwen in the podium places, but you can tell he wants just a little bit more to bide his time through Sunset Bend and go for it into turn 1 as we are approaching the stage where we've got 5.5 minutes still to go in this race. Anything can still happen. Look at the run from Andy McEwen, perfect line. Look at the run he's going to have on Michael Seal. This could be a move into the first corner. But we've seen Andy McEwen struggle to get it done. That's the thing. He can go to the inside, get the position, but the exit isn't necessarily there for him. Will he learn? Will he be able to get the position to stick? Not quite. Comes from too far back to really challenge Michael Seal. And drops out as we see now Clark just...
Whoa!
Oh my word, what has happened there? Michael Seal, was he just too...
Grabbed the gear too early.
Delmont, rear of the car breaks traction, and all of a sudden up in front, it's Cooper and McEwen, and they've got a big gap because of the collision that we saw between... Oh, that was Michael Seal, wasn't it? And is he still running? Is he out on the circuit? Adam Delmont, I don't think he is. I think both of them are out of the race.
Not good at all. It just looked, I mean, to me, it just looked like the car rotated so quickly and so violently. Personally, to me, it just looked like that... it looked like the rear of the car grabbing a gear too early, because you can, with the sequential gearboxing now, you can still blip down on the gears to give yourself that gear. If you don't blip on the throttle on the downshift, what happens is the car won't necessarily give you the gear early enough. If you blip down on the throttle, it then pushes the gear in. So maybe what happened, utilise the engine brake. It might be a bit too much, might have been an additional downshift into first that might not have been there. I mean, to me, that's what happened. Either it was a one gear change too many, or it was the correct gear change but too early. Yeah,
I think that was probably right on the money. Dave Chapman, we're seeing him up into 10th place, finally getting some good fortune his way. There's Craig McDonald right up behind this car battle with Glenn Humberston and Andy Thompson. Not sure what's gone on with the timing software, because it's saying that James Clark is up at the front ahead of Cooper and McEwen, but I'm fairly certain that isn't right. I don't think that there's a 48-second gap between Clark and Cooper. I think that is for the race lead, the battle between Cooper and McEwen. That is now under half a second, or did dip to below half a second. Could still... We'll see some action in this yet before the end of the race. We know how strong the slipstream is. We've known that Andy McEwen wants to take his first race victory of the season as well. Came close to it, didn't he, at the Hockenheim ring, but just missed out. This is his time to turn his fortunes around, though.
Certainly is indeed. 12.5 minutes have gone. 2.5 minutes remain in this. So we will see 2 more laps from everyone here. It is still showing as Clark that's currently lead. That, again, that is not the case. So I do apologise for that. I'm not entirely sure, again, why it's not then reverted back. But currently, as it stands, James Clark is not in the lead because James Clark is currently still trundling around in the Swift Cooper, number 94. He will have to make his way back to the pits. I'm sure when he comes back to the pits, it will then default and he'll come back. But that is why that has happened there. Casper de Court and Sam Smith are having a good battle. This is the battle for P7. Sam Smith having made up 10 positions, so fair play indeed. Shane Piggott, again, dropping down a little bit further, is in P6 as it currently stands. And I wonder he's going to have to do a this is going to be a defensive couple of laps for him, because unless Casper de Court and Sam Smith, they may hold each other up a little bit. I'm pretty sure that's what Shane Piggott is banking on at this moment in time. There is the move from Casper de Court up the inside. Is it going to be done and dusted? Not quite, because Sam Smith then has the left-hander. He then has priority going through. He has the better line, and then it switches and it's role reversal. So Casper de Court has managed to keep his car there or thereabouts. Shane Piggott is just sitting there. He's loving this battle behind him because it's allowing him to pull a small little bit of a gap. Ultimately, though, Casper de Court does make up that position, and he moves up into P7. So the next person on Casper de Court's radar is Shane Piggott. So he's going to have to drive a very defensive final lap again, unless Sam Smith has an answer for him going through down into Sunset for the final lap. And then a little bit further down the field as well is Sean Campbell and Dave Chapman, 2 very, very fast drivers, and I'm sure we're going to see a good battle from these two for the final lap.
Yeah, so Sean
Campbell, slow down.
Pulling off. I think he's picked up a slowdown. I think he picked it up coming through Le Mans. Unfortunate there, because it was right at the end, right when we were just looking forward to a great battle that we've been deprived of, but there's still great battles up here. Casper de Court, ooh, and a little bit of a touch between himself and Sam Smith.
Whoa!
Touch of the grass on the exit, just out of the tyre barriers. We've got the white flag now. It's Cooper and McEwen at the front. Then it's Fisher from Clevins, from Piggott, from Smith, from de Court, Moss and Chapman. Following Casper de Court now at the back of this long train from 4th all the way down to 8th. 5 cars fighting for what is technically not 4th, it will be 3rd in the classified results. So this is the final step of the podium. Which one will it be, though? Will it be Fisher, or can Clibbins maybe send a move? Will Piggott be able to bide his time and pick his moment right? Will Sam Smith be able to go for a bit of a charge? He's looking very racy, isn't he? Or will Casper de Court pick up the pieces should something happen to all of those up in front? Sean Campbell, though, after his slowdown, has caught back up now to Dave Chapman. Keeping that fight alive. You can see them battling as they come out of the hairpin. Great drive out of the corner, even with a touch of the grass in the gravel and the dirt that slows you down. Still good stuff from Sean Campbell, who's going to get the advantage now into the braking zone. Goes defensive to cover off any potential move. Chapman tries to send it around the outside. Can't do it. Has to wait a little while. And suddenly, what another thing that's impressing me is Harley Moss staying up inside the top 10. He's been doing a very good job of keeping the gap steady to Campbell and Chapman for the past few laps. As we see all of those up in front battling nice and close, you can see Sam Smith almost getting pushed along by Casper de Court. They come into the Le Mans section for the final time. Can Fisher hold off Clevins? I think Clevins, being as close as he is, if he gets a good exit, is going to have a relatively easy time with the slipstream, but it's not necessarily the easiest corner to overtake into Sunset Bend, is it? Well, you get the advantage with the slipstream. So many different lines, so many ways you can take that corner quickly. Anyone can come out on top down the inside. Casper de Court will try and hold it as we see Jason Cooper in the lead of the race, taking his 3rd race victory of the night. Cracking stuff from the 5-star motorsport driver. As then across the line, it will be Fisher on the podium, ahead of Clibbins, ahead of Piggott. Casper de Court getting ahead of Sam Smith there right at the end. And then look at that, Campbell just able to get ahead of Moss and also Chapman. So that was great stuff between the pair of them as well.
Indeed, in the final few cars to come across the line, Mark Oliver and Craig Schill having a bit of a battle in these final few corners. I wonder if we're going to see and Mark Oliver just getting a little bit too eager on the throttle then. I thought it was going to be a very, very good cutback move, but it didn't quite play out into the thing I'm sure that Mark Oliver would want. So he comes across the line in P20 overall. Yeah, again, I'm really not too sure what happened with James Clark. It is saying that he's still in in first position. So, again, we're going to get you confirmation on that, whether that's going to be...
He's dropped back now. I think when we get the results up on the screens, he should have dropped back down, because for me, I'm seeing him down in 21st place.
That to be why. Okay, fantastic. So we should get, as you say, we should get those results coming up correctly when everyone jumps back to the pits, and it will generate the results, and we will be able to go from there. Wowzers. What a race. Absolutely fantastic stuff. We're hoping to be able to have a chat with a couple of drivers in a few moments' time. But let us bring up your finishing results, and then we will be able to go from there. Let us just have a very, very quick look. Apologies, they are on their way. And in fact, here they are. There we go, as you said, very rightly so, Ed. So, Jason Cooper taking the final race victory and his third victory of the evening. Andy McEwen, P2. So a very, very good result there from Andy McEwen. Again, I'm sure he would have wanted the win, but P2, with the luck that he had, unfortunately, in the previous races, is a good result, and I'm sure he will be happy with that. Lars Fisher, P3, with Nick Clibbins, 4th, and Shane Piggott, P5. Casper de Court in 6th, Sam Smith in P7, with Sean Campbell taking P8. Harley Moss, 9th, and Dave Chapman rounding out your top 10. Craig McDonald, P11, Andy Thompson in P12, with Glenn Humberstone, 13th, Craig Cockrell in P14, Ashley Stimpson, 15th, Luke Cooper in P16, and Renato Campana, 17th, with Craig Schill in P18 overall in the final race. Mark Oliver takes 19th, with Brian Stewart taking P20. Douglas Stewart, 21st for Team Gonzo Race, number 79. Liam Simpson, 22nd. James Clark, 23rd. And then we have Michael Seal, Adam Delmont, Julian Schroer, Fiona Siddons, and Lee Holmes, all finishing more than a lap down with 28 cars for the final race.
So that was an action-packed evening's racing, and you know what, Dan? We can bring in a driver into the interview waiting room. We will try and make it as quick as possible, because we do have to shoot off relatively soon. But Dan, how about you have a chat with the man who's been on top form this evening, Jason Cooper?
Hi, how you doing?
How are we doing, Jason? Can you hear us?
Yeah, all good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad at all. Fantastic racing as ever. Congratulations. 3 out of 4 over this round. How was it for you? Talk us through it.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Yeah, Dan, you are cutting out just a little bit. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Is it all good now?
Hello.
All seems good now.
Oh, okay, not too sure out there. Apologies. Yes, so Jason, congratulations, 3 out of 4 for that weekend. Again, talk us through the round for you. How was that? Because it was the first race was definitely you having a good old battle there with Casper de Court. Were you expecting that sort of battle with the pace that Casper had, or what were your thoughts going in?
Yeah, yesterday we did a bit of practice together, and Casper was pretty fast, and Lars as well. Unfortunately, Lars lost a toe pretty early on because he got involved in a battle. But yeah, Casper and I worked together, got a gap, and then went for it at the end.
Yeah, you certainly did. Obviously, again, a very, very, very good battle at the end that again we've seen from yourself. So really, really good and really enjoyable to watch. The slipstream as well. Like these big circuits do take their toll on the slipstream quite evidently. So, when you said as well, was the game plan to work together a little bit at the start to try and pull away and try and create that gap and then push a bit at the end, or was it something else?
Yeah, exactly what we did in our practice race last night. Just work together and not do anything silly at the start, and try and get the gap. That's as it always is with these draft tracks. If you keep it clean, you can build a gap.
Absolutely, indeed. Very, very, very true. Well, again, do apologise. We are going to have to. Again, it's a very, very short interview, so I do apologise. But again, anyone you'd like to give a very, very quick shout out to on the broadcast?
You guys for doing the stream every week. Enjoy watching it back, and obviously everyone who puts in all the effort behind the scenes, doing all the points, all the incident reviews and everything. And it takes a lot of time. So thanks for all your input to do that. Give us a good time to race every week.
No problem at all, Jason. Glad you enjoy it. Thank you very much. Again, congratulations on the wins, and we'll look forward to catching up with you next week.
No, I'm off for 2 weeks now. So
off for 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm getting married at the weekend, so.
That's fair enough. That's an excuse to miss it. Fair enough. I'll give you that.
So you'll have some new winners next week.
Well, we look forward to seeing you back, and good luck, and hope the wedding goes well.
Yeah, cheers. See you in a couple of weeks. See ya.
So, congratulations to the happy couple that are going to get married over the weekend. Our congratulations, of course, to Mr. and Mrs. Cooper, I would imagine. Congratulations to the pair of them. But on that cheery note, we do unfortunately have to, on a slightly sadder note, that we have to say goodbye, don't we, Dan? After what has been a brilliant evening's racing, we say goodbye to Sebring, and in, I believe, a week's time, we say hello to Italy, to the Imola GP circuit, track that's provided us with great racing over the seasons in the BSR MX5 trophy, and we'll play host to the 4th round of the calendar. I cannot wait.
Same here, neither can I. It's going to be very, very exciting indeed. Yeah, again, just thank you everyone for tuning in, for sticking around. It's been fantastic having you with us, and we look forward to catching up with you again next week. But as Ed said, we are going to have to wrap up, unfortunately, but we will see you at Imola for round number 4 of the BSR SIM3D MX5 trophy. Make sure, as always, take care, stay safe. We'll see you soon.